the hall seems empty, even if there are a lot of people there. A girl in a wonderful white dress slowly steps forward along the carpet that leads to the altar. There is an emptiness in her head that does not allow her to think about what awaits her. From a formal point of view, it should have been a flawless ducal wedding. Everything is spoiled by the looks of the guests, clearly revealing disgust, contempt, and disdain. Some even express nasty lust. Sighing, the maiden named Edith Riegelhoff tries to tell herself not to be nervous, because it will only ruin her special day. In all this, you won't find the joy of an ordinary wedding, no matter how hard you try, and this is definitely sad. The priest comes forward as the one who will praise this world and bless the man and woman for this marriage. The face is gloomy, because even he knows perfectly well what is happening in this hall at the ceremony. The girl wants to object, but nothing comes of it. Unfortunately, all the wishes that people want to say will never come true. On this very day, the lady marries a man who openly despises her for her origin and nature, and who will ultimately kill her. As has always been the case, misfortune certainly overtakes a girl who is used to it. The man stands in front of the heroine, telling her to give her all the money she has. Confusion freezes in the eyes, because obviously the guy got involved in gambling again. The brunette almost immediately begins to get angry. He believes that the beauty talks too much and has even forgotten, thanks to whom she still lives in this world. The interlocutor, perplexed, begins to shout something back in an attempt to explain herself. The swearing is getting louder, and it seems that the hero is no longer able to keep himself on a leash. He rushes forward, pushing the brunette down the stairs, and realizing exactly how this will all end. After a senseless death that marked the end of another miserable day, the maiden woke up as if in another world. At first, it seemed that this was simply unreal, but, going up to the mirror, she looked at her reflection in surprise. It seems that the transmigration of souls is involved in all this. A beautiful girl with scarlet hair just below her waist looks at the lady from the reflection. The eyes glow brightly with the same color, but the light in them has long gone out. This happens a lot in web novels. A maid enters the room, calling Lady Edith. Now it becomes clear why this is all from the novel Give Up Obsession, which I managed to read the day before I got into reality. The main character is Lise Sinclair, the illegitimate daughter of a count's family. The girl is bright, innocent, and beautiful, like the goddess of spring. Because of her background, she was bullied by the count's family and had an extremely unhappy childhood, which shaped her as a person. After all the hardships that happened in the baby's life, she caught the eye of the Ludwig spouses and went to live in the duchy. It was there that she faced stiff competition with no concessions to win her heart. It is from there that the very obsession from the name begins. Riegelhoff's role in this novel is, to put it mildly, terrible. The girl is presented as simple, stupid, greedy, and monstrous. In fact, she is just a stupid villain, blinded and stained by jealousy, which is almost impossible to wash off. This heroine constantly carried out sabotage, trying to harm Lise in various forms. Her tricks on the girl's flower path were easily resolved, but she did not give up. One of the things that was accomplished involved a poisoned embroidery needle. The reader knows that the lady really did everything possible to kill Sinclair and finally forget about her existence completely. The Count's name as a caring father, she grew up never worrying about money, which was not a problem. The maid finishes her hair and dress. Sitting thinking, the beauty didn't even notice how quickly time flew by, so now she looks up in surprise at the mirror. It's definitely impossible to take away how wonderful Edith is. The gentleman should already be waiting for his daughter, since they had an appointment. Smiling, the girl nods, saying that she is immediately going to go to her father's office. Sophia is surprised that she was thanked. Heading forward along the corridor, the lady tries not to lose her way due to the speed of her actions. In theory, all that needs to be done is to correct the mistakes Edith made. The heroine remembers the plot well, so there should be no problems. A good plan that can be used gradually begins to take shape in your head. If you behave properly and don't try to interfere where you shouldn't, you might be able to get the love of your family for free. Everything went completely wrong, as it should have been initially. Opening the door, the heroine greets her father, but he frowns, noting that it is too late to call it morning. Expectations were destroyed at the speed of light, and the beauty even regretted it. The man reproaches the girl for coming to the office so late, but after a minute, he asks her to close the door on the other side. He is not in the mood, or something is definitely wrong in this novel, as was described on the pages of the book. Some sound is connected. This is the 13th Edith Riegelhoff, and identity verification has already been completed, followed by memory synchronization. Virgo does not understand what is happening, but various memories begin to flash before her eyes with bright pictures. The lady's body seems to be falling down into an abyss, which drags her along with it. The heroine stands and watches as the girl sits on the floor, asking for forgiveness for doing something wrong, and swears that this will never happen again. Her father and older brother stand in front of her. Previously, the maiden believed that Edith was an arrogant villain, but it turned out that this was just an empty image to draw attention to her appearance and not to what was happening. The poor girl didn't do anything wrong. A memory flashes before my eyes of how the lady was locked in some basement room and was not allowed out, even if she begged for mercy. They mocked her in every possible way, not considering her to be a person. The brother was also on the Count's side because he didn't care about his sister. He believes that since she was raised in a house and fed, then it is time to repay this favor. Edith simply has no choice. For everyone else, the heroine is just a walking billboard for the family. She is always dressed in wonderful open outfits that are decorated so richly that it seems as if she is a princess. The father does all this as a diversion and for his own plans. In reality, things are much worse. The lady has no right to anything at all and remains to sit in the forbidden basement for days without food. She is subject to beatings even from the maids, who should not have so many rights and courage. The red-haired one is simply the most expensive doll of Count Riegelhoff, who continues to spend money on her purely for his own reasons. Appearing next to the brunette, Edith sarcastically asks if the impostor will be able to survive. A wild scream, which of course comes from the Count, pulls out of the memories. He is furious because, apparently, the beauty did not respond the first time. The lady doesn't seem to be herself since the morning, which is incredibly annoying. The new day is quite important because you can't make any mistakes. Ludwig's people must not notice a single flaw that could lead to the discovery of all plans. The man reminds about the terms of the contract. The heroine is obliged to take with her 3 maids who will watch her, help with her plans, and not let her relax. For some reason, both in her past life and in her new one, the beauty still can't find herself a normal, loving family. Before leaving, Edith makes notes in her head about what she should do. The next step will be to review the information, since Duke Ludwig and Count Riegelhoff have been rivals since their childhood. As is known, at that time the power of the two families was close to equal, but the family above the one made a great contribution to the war and received the title of Duke. If this had not happened, the young man would still be hanging at the very bottom, but still he managed to show courage. This trick did not work with Riegelhoff, because the man accumulated more and more anger every day, which was hidden inside. It's no secret that he believed that the title had been stolen right from under his nose, and in one of the most blatant forms. That is why the hero married Edith, who was his unloved daughter. All this was necessary in order to find information through her that could destroy the duchy to its very foundation. The beauty tries to calm herself down, asking her not to cry, because everything will be completely fine. What was made a terrible thing can be turned into an opportunity. Needless to say, the lady is too lucky, but she knows how to find a way out of even the most difficult situations she finds herself in. The girl decided that she did not need to behave like Riegelhoff in the original. In this way, she will be able to survive and, of course, build her happiness somewhere in a hidden corner from her father, who will most likely fall. Coming out of the carriage, the lady freezes for a second with her mouth open in surprise. This estate is almost like a castle because of its beauty. Because of the white color, it seems that even more money was invested there. It seems understandable why the Count feels so uneasy towards the family of his opponents, even if he says that inside is completely empty and there is no point in it. Upon entering, the family is greeted by a butler who obligingly bows. He says that the Duke and Duchess are waiting inside, so he can lead them straight to the main hall, where the meeting itself is scheduled. The man's attitude changed dramatically. He smiles, calling his beloved daughter to quickly come to him, starting to play the caring father who, of course, loves her. I want to be angry, but Edith is not going to show her weaknesses. Stepping forward, the Virgin tries to throw all unnecessary thoughts out of her head. It's okay, because things like that don't matter. The lady is still going to leave the Count's house in a week and will continue to try to get on with her life as best she can. Entering the main room, the girl lowers her eyes to the floor so as not to attract so much attention to herself. The butler introduces the Count and Countess along with the heir, who have already arrived for dinner. A smile freezes on the beauty's face as soon as she sees a couple in front of her, famous throughout the kingdom. She was able to see with her own eyes characters whose appearance she could only imagine from the description in a book to read. The woman smiles back, grateful that the family has come such a long way. She asks about the food and says that all preparations will be completed very soon. The Virgin remembers the names because Duke Axel and Duchess Jocelyn are standing in front of her. The gaze turns to the main male character, Cliff. Just as the lady thought, the man is incredibly handsome. There's no strength to tear yourself away from the golden color of your eyes, which seem to be about to melt, no matter how strange it may sound in your head. The girl who looks like the goddess of spring must be Lise. The lady is incredibly beautiful, just like she was described in the book. Hair golden like honey flows over your shoulders, and your innocent face attracts you. The man next to the couple is definitely Edith's future husband. Just by looking at the guy, the heart begins to beat faster, and the lady herself wants to rush forward. It now seems clear why Riegelhoff held on to this character so strongly. A straight nose and jawline create an arrogant image. His wide chest, thin waist, and hips make him want to know more about him, but the heroine herself cannot understand how a person can be so wonderful and cold at the same time. The girl turns away, but the color on her face never comes off. It becomes quite difficult to control herself, but the lady understands that the Duke will never look at her, so it's best to just forget. The battle for attention is already lost even without the game. Seating the guests at the table, the woman begins a calm conversation, as if trying to convey something to those around her, while the cooks lay out plates of food on the table. The world of aristocrats is the best thing that could happen, because the meat melts in your mouth and the taste itself is incredible. The Graf comes to one of the most important parts. He says that his parents still won't calm down, since sending his daughter completely alone will be quite difficult for him in a moral sense. The plan begins, so the lady sighs, hoping that everything will end soon. The man invites Edith to take several maids with her. With the girls who took care of the girl from the very cradle, she will be much more comfortable in a new environment that she has never been in before. Smiling lightly, the Duchess says that their maids have no equal. Axel looks at Jocelyn awkwardly, as the couple doesn't know what they need to do yet. They understand that this marriage is quite strange, so they drag it out until the very end. Riegelhoff is not going to retreat so easily because victory is not yet certain. He looks with the most sly look, asking if Ludwig herself brought maids with her to the estate when she got married. An ominous silence hangs in the room, covering with its stickiness everyone inside who cannot continue the conversation. The family looks at each other to understand what is best to say next, being in their place. The request voiced by the girl's father is truly one that cannot be refused, no matter how reluctant. Jocelyn will have to agree, but the lady has already come up with her own brilliant plan, which she will bring to reality. The beauty asks not to worry and forget about the Count's request. The red-haired girl is getting married very young, so it seems that Dad is very worried about this, so he behaves properly. I don't want anything to go wrong. An hour later, everyone took their carriage back to the estate. The Count shouts as soon as the family boards the carriage, outraged by the young lady's behavior. Virgo seems to have gone crazy for saying this, because she became not only a help, but the biggest hindrance. The story begins in earnest. The lady reminds her father of the look on the Duke's face when they were all sitting at the table together. The man asked for what he needed too obviously. It was clear that the family understood why Riegelhoff asked to take the maids with him. The marriage was supposed to dispel doubts about the Count, but now it seems to have created even more suspicions that were completely unnecessary. It's not clear what can be done if the heroine is there all alone, so the brunette chuckles, hoping that something will work out. As they said earlier, the heroine can try to do everything alone, since there is no other way out. If nothing happens, the Duke will lower his guard, which, of course, will benefit the others. The brother doesn't listen at all, because he's thinking about that same blonde, who, it seems, was called Lise. We urgently need to make sure that no one doubts anything. After some time has passed and Edith has gained trust, she will pretend to be homesick, or ask to bring the maids, or at least one of them for a while to do all the work. Since Monday, the lady has been walking as if on a knife's edge, trying not to fall and cut herself, but it seems that everything is behind her, because now she is standing in front of the altar in her wonderful wedding dress. No longer will Riegelhoff have to return to that house and be treated horribly. The priest finishes reading what would normally be said at the ceremony, asking that God bless their rings and the everlasting covenant they contain. After the exchange of wedding rings, everything will be over, and this cannot but rejoice. The girl draws attention to the kids who are carrying the pillow along with the most important part of the ceremony. I want to smile, but, turning my gaze to the person next to me, the girl freezes, because his face expresses sincere anger, which cannot be hidden in any way. There is nothing to take from him, because it is already wonderfully known what exactly he feels. In this case, the best option is to hurry up and make sure everything is completed as quickly as possible. You should not stand and exchange vows or kiss in front of everyone who knows that this marriage is fictitious. Carefully putting jewelry on her ring finger, the beauty smiles easily. She still hides her emotions because she notices that a man is uncomfortable with even a light touch on this person's body. Killian's behavior is more reminiscent of a small child, but deciding not to focus on the bad, Edith wanted to grab the ring but missed. The young man takes the thing and demonstratively puts it on himself, while laughter echoes in the hall from all sides. Clenching her hand into a fist before doing something wrong, the heroine closes her eyes and exhales twice. She needs to calm down because nothing has changed. In any case, this person is of no value to the girl because they just met. This is a life in which ladies can leisurely enjoy peace and indulge in their favorite hobbies. Now, you don't have to worry about someone raising their hand or keeping it locked up. Now that the heroine has been reborn, she prays to God to allow her to do everything she needs to do, at least this time. The evening of the same day comes. Riegelhoff moved to her room, which was allocated to her by the new Ludwig family, and which the hostess liked. You can finally feel better than ever with peace and quiet. The wedding dress had a very low cut in the chest, and the lady was constantly worried about it. The heels were too high, so I also had to stand, shifting so as not to fall. In the future, Edith should understand the character's taste a little better. The idyll is interrupted by a sharp knock on the door. Without thinking about who it could be, the beauty allows her to enter, and immediately sees Lady Lise. She looks with her innocent gaze, saying vaguely that she has something to tell. The realization flashes through my head that there was a similar episode in the book after the wedding. Once the ceremony is over, Sinclair visits her new friend and wants to apologize for Killian's rudeness. Her apology will anger the girl even more due to her insincerity. That time, the lady lost her temper with the beauty because there was no other person at hand. She is outraged that the blonde dressed up in a snow-white dress at someone else's wedding, although this is usually considered the height of indecency. In fact, the heroine even understands Edith, because this angers the one who really wanted this ceremony. In any case, the girl has no reason to be angry with the cutie who didn't do anything to her. The best solution is to make your face simpler and smile. Bowing her head, the maiden still begins to apologize for Killian's rudeness. A man usually behaves differently, and even if he seems cold on the outside, he is actually a man with a warm heart. It is unrealistic to hate such a girl, so you can only treat her condescendingly. Brightly shiny blonde hair that seems to shine on its own, large light blue eyes, pure and innocent, attract attention. Good looks, and a kind, righteous heart matter. A smile immediately blooms on the face of a girl who does not want any conflicts. She asks not to worry, assuring that she understands everything perfectly, even if it is a little complicated. It is difficult for both of them, since the marriage was just an agreement between two families who did not ask their children for an opinion. In this case, there is no point in being offended by Killian, who did nothing wrong, but simply expressed his dissatisfaction. If the lady does everything right, her chances of survival on this estate will increase significantly. Gasping, the blonde is surprised at how kind and mature Edith is, since she decided that this is how everything should be, in truth, things. The red-haired one will still never compare with Lise in her kindness. She says that the dress suits the beauty very well, or is it simply because she herself compliments the thing, and not vice versa? The hair color and bright, fair skin are mesmerizing. The maid says that she brought a towel, so Sinclair immediately becomes nervous, saying that she didn't want to keep her acquaintance and make her forget about her other affairs. In this case, the couple will quit the next day, but for now, everyone will go to rest. Realizing that the wedding episode is over, the lady rejoices. She was finally completely alone, so she could take a break from what was happening. Approaching the bathroom, Riegelhoff strips off his robe to expose himself for a bath. Plunging into the hot water, the red-haired girl exhales, enjoying the pleasant sensations that draw her in. Since the lady became the wife of the future duke, the maids do the preparations, which makes the task easier. It is not so important that there is no internet in this world, because a lady does not need to go to work and does not need to do chores around the house. No more worrying about your bank account and the manager who harassed your employee. There will be plenty of time to go to operas, competitions, picnics, and even ball parties. The door opens quietly. Lost in her thoughts, the beauty herself did not understand how it happened that Killian ended up in the room. He chuckles, noticing that the bride, without waiting for her husband, takes a bath without him, enjoying the tranquility. In the book, the brunette did not come to the bridal room, so the girl blinks her eyes in surprise. Frowning more than ever, the Duke asks who his wife was expecting, since she was so tense. He's definitely still not in the mood. In fact, the lady thought that her husband would not come, since there was no point in it. Exhaling, the young man nods in agreement, because in the end, the girl was smart enough to figure out the obvious. One way or another, there was no point in denying the fact of hostility. The man didn't even allow him to put on a wedding ring, so it was impossible not to understand the hint, even when you're really bad at thinking. It seems that this didn't bother him at all, and it couldn't have been that way. Leaning over the bathtub, the brunette raises an eyebrow. It feels like the wifey was waiting for some weird courtship that wouldn't work out in the end. She doesn't give away her real thoughts, so it's strange to understand what's going on in her head. The girl is incredibly annoyed that this guy is incredibly handsome, but at the same time a cretin, judging by the way he behaves. Edith has no reason to hate a man, so she is not going to show her character or simply get angry. It's better to quickly be left alone and relax. It is obvious that the guy will not be in the room, judging by how he behaved at the ceremony, but in this case, it is better to decide where exactly the person will sleep, since gender is not an option. These are just suggestions. The hero freezes for a second with a surprised expression on his face, but in the end, he doesn't even linger any longer. Jumping out into the corridor, the hero rushes forward, hoping that he will no longer have to go back. Halfway there, the young man is stopped by Sinclair. She is surprised to ask Killian if he was in the bride's room, from which he just escaped. The girl still looks innocent when she asks something like that. Nodding, the brunette says that he has already been with Edith, but, as it turns out, she had no expectations from the night, just like he himself. The blonde does not understand how it happened that the lady was lying and dozing in the bath. Placing his palm on his friend's head, the Duke only says that she thinks too well of the whole world, without noticing those who do not act as they should. This cannot be corrected given that such a trait is considered good. The woman should already know which Count Riegelhoff is. The intentions of the people from that house simply cannot be serious, because, most likely, they simply decided to make fun of them because they began to get bored. The girl remembers what the lady told her then when the two of them were in the same room. Something was mentioned about a dress, and the heroine immediately blushed. Killian believes that there is no guilt, since Sinclair herself did not choose the clothes. As it turned out, Lise was not reprimanded, because it was about something completely different. She believes that just because she wasn't told anything, it didn't change the fact that the bride was upset. The dress that Edith herself was wearing was too indecent, so she envied the luxurious and modest. Remembering what the bride looked like at the wedding, Killian shudders, because he did not like such a picture. This was one of the reasons why he reacted as strongly as he did before. The blonde begins to be indignant at what the acquaintance just said. The man had no right to call his wife names and could not say anything like that at all. Unfortunately, the guy did not live up to expectations and expressed what he really thought. Lise wants to say something else, but the hero interrupts her. He can't explain exactly what he's feeling, as he too is confused by Cliff's arrival. Leaning against the wall, the young man reminds them what time it is and asks what the two forgot in the dark corridor. The girl immediately turns around as soon as she sees her companion. She smiles and walks forward while the brunette lowers his head in contempt for his brother. As usual, his place in the sun was very quickly obscured. Beauty wakes up only to find that she got up earlier than usual. After all the torment that she had to endure, she was lucky that that same morning came anyway. The wedding was officially over. The strength of a healthy girl helps a lot to focus on everything else besides health. In this case, you can think positively, because if everything works out, the virgin will live like a sweet daughter-in-law. Killian is a minor character, and he is in love with Sinclair, but his parents may be completely different, kinder people. The Duke and Duchess received the girl warmly, so she began to hope for something more than what she received at the first meeting. Perhaps, over time, the heroes will open their hearts and let in the heroine who so hopes for it. Looking forward to the new day, Edith gets ready to go greet her new family members. One of the basic rules for surviving in a novel with rebirth into the body of a villain is, of course, to gain the trust of the main and secondary characters, who will then help. If the lady wants to survive in the Ludwig estate, the opinion of Killian's parents is much more important than his own. All the red-haired woman wants is a quiet life in a quiet corner somewhere in a mansion. She won't ask for too much, but she's not going to suffer, because after all, she got it in her past life. It became clear that it was definitely necessary to win the trust of the Ludwigs. No mother-in-law will hate a daughter-in-law who comes to say hello in the morning the day after the wedding as a sign of her respect. Such ideas are like the best that can exist. Approaching the door, the lady notices the same bell with a rope that she had only read about in books. With his help, they usually call the service personnel, and here it is already clear that the maids will help transform into a real wife. A few minutes after the call, the maid arrived. The face does not express any emotion, and she acts exactly as she needs. Asking what the young mistress needed, the girl hears her asking to get ready to go out. All that remains is to nod and get to work. It's still not customary to hear the word mistress, so the red-haired girl is a little embarrassed. To somehow start a conversation, the lady asks the newcomer's name. As it turns out, her name is Anna. The viewing of clothes begins. One dress after another flies into a heap on the bed, because each of them is lush and too vulgar. The girl said that everything she brought with her, gentlemen, looks exactly like this. A picture pops into my head of how a lady will come in one of these outfits to bow to the Duke. Surely the family will be shocked by what they see, and the daughter-in-law will be ashamed. Sighing heavily, the heroine lowers her head into her hands. Deciding not to waste a second in order to complete all stages of the plan, the girl asks Anna to go to the workshop and alter the dresses so that her breasts are covered. In addition, you will need to remove all the nasty decorations that hang on each piece of fabric. The brunette leaves, leaving the girl surprised. She didn't even give the order, but they were already going to carry it out without delay or objection. Riegelhoff realized that the maids on her native estate were behaving somehow strangely and incorrectly. The rest of the clothes will also have to be altered, but, of course, not right away. Remembering her wedding night, the lady turns her gaze to the bed. Perhaps she should put some bloodstains on the sheets as a sign of what happened immediately after the ceremony. The decision was made towards cancellation, because if the heroine had done everything herself, Killian would definitely not have been very happy. As in the original story, the man was ready to devote himself entirely for the sake of Lise, who he liked. The handsome virgin is something you can sympathize with a little. Perhaps the lady is just forcing too much sympathy on a minor character who doesn't really deserve it. As luck would have it, the moments when the guy came to Edith's chambers pop into my head. She still didn't understand why he came, but there was never a moment to ask everything. I would like to know the truth firsthand. Be that as it may, the lady is pleased to see the brunette's wonderful face twice in a day. She couldn't complain about how things were going for her. It is almost impossible to reach the girl, because she is completely immersed in dreams. The maid distracts Choi Soo-nu because she is too deep in thought. You shouldn't focus so much on Ludwig, because he's not interesting. The hairstyle was ready, just like the dresses that were sent with Anna for alterations. The maiden got ready quite quickly and immediately went to the Duke and Duchess's chambers to greet her new family, as befits a decent person. Jocelyn smiles as soon as she sees the girl enter the room. She must have been very tired yesterday, but she still came to say hello. This is the time to worry about whether the daughter-in-law is too worried about what happened before and the new atmosphere. Sitting down on the sofa opposite the woman, the girl reaches for a cup of tea, which was placed especially for her. She is already sure that the lady was told that they did not sleep with Killian, because in their situation, this is almost impossible. Axel begins the conversation almost immediately, saying that he knows that Edith was raised as the Count's favorite daughter. Now he wonders if the girl knows at least something about conducting business as the mistress of the aristocrat's house in which she now lives. In such a situation, Choi would have had a hard time, but she was helped by the character's memories, which were synchronized even when she was at home. She knows how to handle a budget, manage, and work with documents, which already seems quite enough. Perhaps in the duchy they do it differently, but if they teach her, she will quickly learn everything, because she wants to help. It's not clear from the man's face that he is very impressed, but getting into the head of a stranger is not the best idea. Sighing, the hero notices that Riegelhoff taught his daughter only this, and the tone hints that this is not the best set. There is an ominous atmosphere in the room that is oppressive. The Virgin, of course, knew that they would not be too favorable towards her, but now Axel is impudently hinting that the newcomer might steal the documents. Exhaling and gathering courage, the red-haired girl raises her chin higher and says that in this case, if she does not deserve the trust of the Duke, she can be taught something else, not so important. She will try to reach the top. Jocelyn senses the bad vibes, so she nudges her husband to keep him quiet. The woman says that she is glad that the Count taught his daughter at least something. In this case, the Duchess herself will be able to help with her business in 2 weeks. If she needs something, don't be shy, because you can always tell. The red-haired woman smiles and immediately asks that a person be assigned to her to help her get acquainted with the estate. Most likely, Killian himself should have done this, but he did not bother to take a single step towards it. Madame should not expect anything from a man who, even on his wedding night, did not spend the night in the room and disappeared back to his place. The heroine drops this topic and says that she will introduce some guide for introduction. After the conversation ended, the lady quickly left. Walking outside the room, she leans her back against the door, trying to breathe calmly. It seemed that the end would come very soon, but we managed to withstand each attack quite well. In a man's voice, someone asks if the girl is okay. The girl waves her head, saying that everything is fine. She was just a little nervous, but it wasn't a big deal. The Duchess instructed the Duke's assistant, Baron Renan Filch, to acquaint the girl with the estate. He, being a servant, was responsible for document management. Like Anna, who was assigned as a servant, this character was not even mentioned in the original work. Fear appears of people about whom Choi has no information. Turning around before leaving, the young man suggests making a detour right on the same day, so as not to waste time. Sometimes it seems to a lady that this is not just the world inside the book, but reality, from how accustomed she is to everything in just a few weeks. The hero has too much work to do, so it won't be possible to allocate too much time. However, he promises to try to make sure everything ends well. Virgo immediately apologizes for delaying and agrees to start right away. Stepping forward after a new acquaintance, the girl only thinks about what kind of character the guy has. Perhaps the characters who did not appear in the original have such a character trait as straightforwardness. First of all, Filch decided to show his companion the jewelry room. The family jewels of the duchy are kept there, and each of the pendants and necklaces can be worn for celebrations after permission from the owners of the estate. The next room in line is the room where the armor for the knights is stored. They are used by his lordship and the 2 young gentlemen. Everything is made by the hands of famous craftsmen in order to serve the Ludwigs to the glory. The great library is the heart of the duchy. There are many rare books collected there that can only be found in the emperor's palace. Of course, many would like to have such wealth in their open access. The girl stands with her mouth open in surprise. Running after Renan, she asks if they should get permission. As it turns out, any member of the Duke's family can enter at any time, and the same goes for the Sistine Hall, where new works of art are exhibited every month. Good news lifts your spirits. In a past life, the lady could not go to exhibitions because the ticket price was too high for her. In the new reality, you can say that the museum is located right in the house, so this will simplify the task. Approaching the large gilded doors, the couple stops. Filch opens the entrance and leads the acquaintance inside. She doesn't hold back from the start, so she walks inside with her mouth open and her eyes glowing. The many paintings and beautiful interior will take your breath away. The blonde asks to stop at this hall because there is no more time, and the estate is huge. Next time, they will manage to cover as much territory as possible. Thanks to Rena, the maiden continues to smile. She is amazed at what a beautiful place she still lives in. The man has a beautiful voice, and he is also eloquent, so time flew by even somehow unnoticed for both of them. Turning away, the boy blushes slightly at the compliment he was given. He only did what he had to do, and if the lady arranged a tour, the second part would be given the very next day. You won't have to wait very long, and everything will be announced in the morning. As the couple passes by, the hero decides to also talk about the place they arrived at. We are talking about a large terrace, which is immediately clearly visible from the balcony. From there, it is convenient to look into the courtyard. The terrace is often used when guests come to the estate, or when his lordship simply sits and drinks tea there. Extending his hand, the guy himself does not notice that two young dukes and Lise are sitting at the table. Falling silent, the hero peers to understand what is happening. The blonde laughs and smiles in response to the loving glances, while the three of them are refilled with tea. Filch looks away, full of embarrassment, noticing that the girl standing next to him has become quiet. She lowered her head, trying to hide her true emotions. Sighing in surprise, the blonde pronounces the name of the gentleman who somehow ended up there, but they don't seem to hear him. The girl is focused on her own work, because a good view is mesmerizing. It seems as if you managed to get into a parallel reality, although, in fact, it is so. Asking what Killian is doing on the terrace, the young man turns away. The red-haired girl just comes to her senses and immediately understands what we are talking about. Renan's bewilderment is quite natural because the newly made groom has been drinking tea with another woman in the garden since the very morning. This is the height of indecency on his part. Virgo remembers what Edith did in the original work, but everything is confused by the smile that the brunette gives to his beloved, sitting next to her. Turning away, the heroine decides that she doesn't care if anyone wants to enjoy the ancient buildings of the duchy. Laughing awkwardly, the red-haired woman says that this place is wonderful. In late spring, the view will probably be even more beautiful, so all you have to do is wait and come see it at least once more. Nodding his head, the blonde definitely agrees. Later, the girl will definitely come to this place often, just to get some fresh air. Heading to the door, the woman calls the Baron with her, because he said earlier how much he has accumulated to do, from which he cannot be distracted. After a while, the man arrived at the chief's office. He asks to tell him his thoughts about Edith, so the Baron begins to say that the lady listened to him carefully and was not even distracted. Surprisingly, she quickly understood the structure of the estate, and she especially liked the Saxtine Hall, which is a special attraction. Surprisingly, nothing strange was noticed, even after close observation. There are terrible rumors about Regelhof in high society, but despite everything, she showed herself very worthy, trying to make others love her. Apart from what happened, when the couple passed through the balcony, they noticed the young master and Cliff drinking tea with Lady Lise on the terrace. This all happened the very morning after the wedding, which confused the assistant a little, because even he did not expect anything like this. Sighing, the Duke puts his pen aside. He asked his son not to give reasons for jealousy and fights, because this is really important. Seeing the groom flirting with another woman on the morning when the couple is supposed to be together can harm both of them and the entire family as well. To prevent Count Regelhof from siding with Archduke Lanston, the man clearly explained to the future Duke that he needed to be patient at least until the end of the year, so there was not much time left to wait. They are spouses only on paper, so the brunette said that there was no point in expecting more from him. Knowing that there could be consequences, the hero still tried to harm others with his behavior. Just about to leave for a conversation, the hero freezes, because Renan is talking about a girl who didn't even pay attention. Of course, the blonde doesn't know what exactly the beauty was thinking about, but instead of raising a scandal, she simply left, pretending that she didn't even see anything. She tried to solve the problem without interfering, which would only damage the relationship further. The girl went to lunch, but as soon as she finished, Anna started cleaning. Maybe because the lady previously tried to eat only at home, she was so uncomfortable sitting at the table and did not help. Not knowing how to behave is a bit of a letdown. The maid is about to finish the job, but the lady says that she did a good job. Most likely, the brunette still hasn't eaten, so she can go and rest. Giving the lady a strange look, the beauty agrees. Such behavior may raise suspicion. Nothing can be changed, so the lady is just trying to calm down a little so as not to influence her condition even more. Nothing can be done because she knows that she also made a good impression on the Duke and Duchess. You can exhale. All that remains is to decide how to treat Sinclair. The lady was destined to become the main heroine of this world, but her life was not so simple until she found herself in a new family. This was mentioned throughout the book in the form of flashbacks, which the girl received more than once. The son and daughter of the family constantly bullied Lise, an illegitimate child. Her home became a prison where she was constantly oppressed. She wanted to escape, but the opportunity never came. Thanks to the fact that the baby helped Duchess Ludwig not fall from her horse, she attracted her attention, which became the very moment that decided her fate. Angered by the cruel treatment of the good-natured girl, the Dukes bought the rights to the blonde for huge sums of money. The Sinclair family, hastily renouncing their parental rights, missed the opportunity to become related to the dukedom. They later went broke and greatly regretted their earlier decisions. Sometimes, you need to understand what you are doing before you act. By the end of the book, there was not a single positive character left with a bad ending, because their fate was predetermined. Edith is a completely different story, because in the end, she got what she deserved, even if she acted under the pressure of her father. Choi's real life could be said to be full of troubles from beginning to end. She understood that it was not her fault, because she tried with all her might to improve, but in the end, nothing happened. During the year of work in the company, management abused their position many times and prevented me from working to the fullest. Virgo broke up with her boyfriend via text message when she saw him going to a motel with another woman. The beauty went home, thinking that from now on she will only read web novels, and that will be the end of it. What ended up happening was that Appa pushed her down the stairs and she died. The lady has no idea whether the parents were sad about losing their daughter in such a stupid incident. Most likely, the father and mother were more worried about their son, who got into trouble much more than about their capable daughter. Now, the girl also only needs to worry about herself, and not about the others who asked for everything without giving anything in return. Passing by one of the windows, the red-haired girl notices a beautiful figure sitting under a tree with a book. This is Lise, so the beauty immediately thinks whether she should come up and get to know each other instead of avoiding each other by all means. The decision was made for the lady because Killian appeared near the trunk and asked his friend what she was reading. As it turns out, this is the story of the imperial family. The baby did not receive a proper education, so now it's a little difficult. Fate played a cruel joke against her without asking what Sinclair herself wanted. Because she doesn't know much, Axel finds it difficult to determine the girl's future. This is important, and for this you need to learn as much as possible. If the lady wants to study, the handsome man promises to help as soon as anything is needed. Such a statement is quite expected from a minor character. Cliff would say not to worry and just live happily, because he would take care of everything himself while Lise was around. According to the classics of the genre, the main character will always be one step ahead. The red-haired girl decides that she shouldn't go anywhere yet and stop eavesdropping. As she closes the curtains, she hears Sinclair asking about the man's wife. He believes that no attention should be paid to her. The girl is simply a hostage who will remain in the estate for a short time and then disappear. Now it has become at least clear what the husband really thinks about the lady, because before that he avoided her presence next to him by all means. The blonde throws a glass of drink at the wall out of anger. She screams about the injustice in this world and is indignant that it was some girl who fell into the hands. This is Layla Sinclair, the Earl's youngest daughter. Damien leans against the door, smiling. He asks his sister why she is so angry, but she begins to get angrier than before. Everyone already knows that Edith Riegelhoff married Killian Ludwig yesterday. News travels too quickly throughout the world of aristocrats. It seems that the Duke has a hobby of collecting useless women. The hint is about Lise, who was also once taken by the same family. They are acting too strange. There is no point in being sad, and it is these words that make Layla think that her brother knows something. Having calmed down, but not completely, the girl sits down with a cup of tea and asks to quickly tell everything that the man knows, without delay. My sister is still just as temperamental, and this doesn't frighten me one bit, even taking into account the emotions that are rushing to the surface. You need to rewind time to understand what is happening. The two got married for profit, because every family will get something from it. First of all, Count Riegelhoff has the right to distribute the iron ore mined in the southern mines. In other words, he has the raw materials to make weapons. The problem is something else that young Miss doesn't know about. The blonde doesn't know a single bit about weapons, and also doesn't know how power is divided between those at the throne. It is important not to forget how the conflict began, which is growing. Power is divided between Archduke Langston, who aspires to become emperor, and the imperial factions supporting the young king. It would become dangerous if the Archduke's side could produce weapons, because then the end would come. The Duchy of Ludwig, a representative member of the emperor's faction, had to put Count Riegelhoff on a leash to prevent him from siding with his future ally. This would be a dangerous move for the ruler himself. The girl breaks into a scream, saying that there is not a drop of good in this information. Damien wanted to explain why marriage was needed, but then he obviously began to mock, twisting the story in a completely different direction than what was needed. Everyone knows about what is happening, but right from the moment at which Sinclair was interrupted, all the fun begins. Riegelhoff may indeed be on a leash, or perhaps it is just an illusion of what is happening around him. One day, the blonde came across an unfolding scene that was taking place in the corridor. The man shouted at Edith, accusing her of never being able to do anything right. The girl prayed for forgiveness, saying that there would be no more mistakes. If the heroine could not get information from the younger Everton, she would be without dinner all week. The image of an arrogant villainess was completely false, because in fact the brunette was managing his daughter as an informant. It's not easy to believe what's said, but for now you have to see what happens next. Events can move at breakneck speed, and if everything goes in Riegelhoff's favor, they will win. If Damien reveals the information at the right time, they will be doomed. Renan stands on the platform, showing the beauty a beautiful view. They came to another exit to the terrace. Edith examined the estate little by little, but it still took a whole week to get around the Ludwig's possessions. The girl doesn't know what she should do next, because now she has free time. She turns her gaze to the Baron with hope. The Duchess asked me to tell you that she had some important request to ask the lady. Your eyes immediately light up with anticipation and disbelief. The family can't even imagine how hard it was to be idle. Mother's office is the third door on the left if you go forward, and this is correct. Smiling, the beauty thanks Renan for the assistance provided, which will definitely help, because now the maiden is finding her way around the mansion. The hero explained everything in detail for a week, so it would be a shame for the girl to forget all the information now. Lady Edith arrived just in time. Opening the door, the lady sees Lise in the room, and Jocelyn, who is standing next to her. The blonde is happy that they will work together. The mother entrusted at least some work to her daughter, so this is a plus. The friends seem to get along great. The Duchess asks Lise to help the red-haired one with documents that will be transferred to her possession very soon. The blonde is waiting for something, but the beauty doesn't quite understand what exactly. It turned out that Jocelyn had called the tailors. The memory of what the heroine read immediately comes to mind. There was definitely such an episode in the book, and it has already been talked about. The tailors from Royal's workshop have already arrived and are waiting for them all. The lady plans to finish her work and go to the living room for a meeting. Already sitting down on the sofa, the lady recalled more details from what she read. The woman says she chooses the same designs every time. The heroine asks you to help her choose a design. There are only two options, because either what Sinclair chooses will be liked more, or will receive more praise. You need to remain calm, because victory is already a foregone conclusion. Even if we forget that Lise is the main character, she could well understand tastes in 5 years. Beauty has only seen such clothes in pictures and web novels, and nothing more, so it will be difficult. Preparation went well. Sinclair chose at the speed of light. The choice fell on a blue silk dress. It will perfectly highlight your beauty. The designer praises the girl. This is the latest workshop design. The highest quality silk, from which the emperor's outfits are made, adds sophistication. The blonde chose the best option. The Duchess has a light skin tone, so any color will suit her, especially blue, which will highlight her eyes. It will be difficult to choose, because the dress that the girl showed is the best. But if suddenly the lady wants something new, there is a good option. The style in which the item is made will be for those days when you want to change your mood a little. In this case, this is the best option. The girl has a keen eye, because few people are able to appreciate the combination of colors. To a 21st century eye, this design would suit Jocelyn. For a woman, this is too much, as it is too flashy. They say that the older a person is, the more luxuriously he should dress to look great. In any case, Edith was not thinking about winning the competition. The girl accumulates strength in order to later defeat the heroine. Mother has dignity and beauty, so she will correspond to what was chosen. This is how the lady orders both dresses. Now it's time to find something for Ludwig Jr. The girl tries to object, saying that she has enough dresses, but the couple has already started studying the samples and is not paying any attention. Discussions continue as the designer sketches out options with bright eyes. She knows the order will be big. It was hard to choose, but in the end, my mother settled on 5 options, which had already been written down in a notebook in advance. The woman also offers to choose something for Edith, but she refuses. Royal can take dresses for alterations, and that will be enough. Without saying what exactly needs to be done, the lady asks Anna to bring clothes that need to be changed quite a bit. One of the rules of survival in a romance with relocation to the villain is the creation of an opposite image, so the lady asks to remove jewelry and cover cutouts in the chest that are uncomfortable. It seems that the girl's taste has changed a lot. After an hour, it was finally over, so we were allowed to relax. I would like to know how much money you will get if you collect all the beads from clothes, which also have their own value. The heroine makes a plan in her head on how to establish intimacy, but freezes when she sees Killian right outside her room. The brunette could not appear near the door without reason. Just about to ask, the lady is cut off and told to move on. Lise asks to invite Edith to a tea party. As soon as she gets there, she will most likely remember whether such an episode was in the book. Obviously, the blonde sent Ludwig to her, but even from the back, he looks wonderful. The girl doesn't have to worry, because the wife will just glance at it and nothing more. The man turns around sharply, as if he spotted the girl. He warns the heroine to keep her mouth shut in front of Lise. Sinclair is like family, therefore more important than his own wife to this man. These words even hurt my gut a little. The lady also has feelings, because she is a person, but the young man believes that she is more like a family. He behaves very politely. It seems that the young man wanted to spoil the mood and expose her as a terrible woman. She's not one to be easily taken out. Mood is one thing, but causing pain is another. In this regard, no one can compare. Edith met with Lise and Cliff. They poured her tea, and then the most important conversation with questions began. Ludwig says that the lady seems to be used to the situation, but she seems to be taking on too much work that is not necessary. They had just gotten married and were supposed to go on a trip. Obviously, the young man wants to take care of his future bride, so he sends his brother away. The best time to explore the land has come now that winter is over. It makes some sense, but Killian is too busy. The brunette asks Lise if she would like to go with him. She always said that she wanted to go somewhere. The guy asks not to put his girlfriend in an uncomfortable position. The girl should not pay attention to the approach from the side. Now the 3 look like siblings, but if Cliff leaves, the 2 will be like they are in a relationship, and then it will be impossible to avoid bad rumors. Maybe because the young man is the main character, his thinking is different. The man turns to Edith, asking her opinion. The character asks about the situation between all of them, and that only he will be obliged to leave the mansion. Grunting, the lady freezes. This question was too arrogant. It is clear that the lady is not in a position to ask for love, but putting a person down is too much. As it turned out, everyone in the family has no manners. Taking a sip of tea, the girl shrugs, saying that she doesn't care. The brunette bows his head, not understanding why he was answered in such a tone. Obviously, he was hoping for something else. Inspecting the lands is the responsibility of the heir to the dukedom, so this is for Mr. Cliff. The heroine has no right to talk about anything. Riegelhoff believes that traveling with Lisa will be burdensome for her, because she is not even the Duke's wife. Turning around, the beauty notices a strange smile. Removing her hands from her face, the blonde makes a cute face and asks if Cliff needs to go straight that day. It seems to the red-haired girl that everything she saw was a hallucination. We need to figure out what's happening quickly. Killian goes out onto the terrace to get some air. He doesn't know why his wife responded to the barb with a barb and then left. Lise is distracted from her thoughts by asking why the man is walking outside alone so late. Saying that nothing happened, the young man asks about the new dresses that were ordered. Mother likes to dress up the girl, but she feels guilty every time. This is not Sinclair's fault. The Duchess always envied those families who had daughters, and who were so lucky. The lady cares a lot about her mother, so on the contrary, all the Ludwigs should be grateful that everything is fine now. Jocelyn's husband and sons were raised as knights, so the woman was lonely. Things changed pretty quickly. Perhaps the Duchess would have liked the purchase more for Edith, because she did not choose one that time. She asked for the dresses to be altered. Obviously, Riegelhoff was disgusted with buying clothes there, because she usually doesn't wear the same thing twice, but then she changed her mind. The girl didn't like the studio. At the wedding, she wore vulgar clothes, but then suddenly began to wear something else, playing the prude. For some reason, the beauty didn't piss off the Duke much during the whole day, but when she shows her insides, everything changes. The girl is truly vulgar and disgusting. You can't take that away from her. A picture pops into her head when she was in the bath after the wedding. Turning away, the young man says that the woman is lying on the floor like a snake, but then she will bare her fangs when everyone relaxes. Sooner or later, the heroine will ask to find a new studio that can satisfy her annoying taste. For the sake of preserving his reputation, Ludwig will have no other choice. Instead of dresses, the lady ran out of perfume and cosmetics. The items won't appear in your makeup bag on their own, so you'll have to spend money. From one thought, the lady does not know what to do. Edith's position in the work is unstable, so the heroine saved up to be prepared for a situation when she needed money. The other day, a girl asked to remove diamond beads from her dresses, but she never accepted them for banknotes. The girl is an aristocrat, and she should buy such luxury items. The lady has been saving all her life, so she doesn't know how to spend it all. For Choi, hiding in the closet and applying lipstick was normal. Now it seems that such a thing should not have been done even then. Probably, the brunette didn't want anyone to know that they didn't love her, so she was afraid. Since the heroine has been reborn, it means she has every right to enjoy. I want to try everything possible, so the lady asks Anna to call a perfumer. The man shows the best version of Ashley's Rose. This is a style that many people prefer, as there is a refreshing grassy scent combined with a light note of rose, as well as wild strawberry. The guy knows how to make the same scent as in the bottle. Virgo seems to like it, so she asks how much it will cost. One bottle will cost approximately 90,000 senna, which is equal to 900,000 won. Such a price makes you want to scream in surprise. The maid asks about perfumes made from other types of roses that might suit the hostess. The most used flower is the one from the Titania family. It's rich and long-lasting, so that's the first thing that comes to mind. The man cannot shut up while he explains which roses are best to choose and recommends a bottle for 200,000 sen. Smiling shyly, the beauty says that she wants to keep her favorite scent so as not to change too dramatically. Anna suggests mixing Nathaniel with Ashley to make a complete set. Now that the lady is married, it would be better to choose something deeper. The compromise is excellent, so the perfumer says that it will cost 130,000 sen if you take the same bottle as before. The girl asks to do it for 120, or at least 125. She argues that she doesn't want people to think that her wife spends too much. For a discount, a promise is made to contact the young man next time too. Smiling, the brunette says that his daughter-in-law is too thrifty, so she'll even have to give in. After 2 hours, the lady found herself completely exhausted, more so by the prices in this world. The maid tells about what the mistress purchased. Edith managed to buy one perfume, blush, and a brush. The whole thing cost almost 2 million won, and it makes me want to cry inside. Previously, the heroine could not spend anything because she was afraid. If she got rid of more money in this world, no one would mind. In a past life, the girl was robbed by her brother, so she valued her meager salary, and wasting money felt terrible. It takes time to get used to luxury. There are many things you can enjoy without buying them. The girl immediately headed to the Sistine Hall. This is where you can relax and not worry. There is no point in perfume before the beauty of paintings. The photographs look like reality because of the detail that is amazing. Standing next to him, the lady continues to open her mouth in surprise. I can't believe she gets to watch something like this live. Sitting down on the floor, the beauty closes her eyes. Killian's voice says that she has a rather unusual way of assessing. There is nothing strange in the fact that the Duke came to inspect the arts of his family on his own estate. Although Riegelhoff is not very interested in art, the lady liked such a place. It seems that the young man is running into another conflict with his statements. The girl is truly shocked, because just one picture contains a huge number of different emotions that cannot be replaced. The picture clearly shows the tragedy and cruelty of war, and in the man you can see the desire to put an end to what is happening. It is clear that he is not at all happy about the praise of others, because even when you win, it will be strange to be happy. The work is dedicated to the grandfather's victory in the war against the Yanok kingdom. The guy did not assume that the lady did not know who was drawn there. The hero has never heard of Riegelhoff doing art, so he asks why she came. As a person gets older, he understands more. There is no favorite author, because Virgo only recently became interested. She doesn't know anyone at all. The girl passes by one of the paintings and sees a boy depicted there, who posed for this when he was still little. The young man makes excuses, saying that he was forced to help the artist. The lady didn't even ask anything. Turning away, the heroine is about to leave. The hero asks what she is looking for there, but she just laughs, saying that what she sees does not suit her. Lighting up with scarlet colors, the brunette further justifies himself, saying that the model of the body was not himself, but only his face in the picture. This is obvious, because the noble son of a duke cannot expose himself in front of an artist just so that he can do his job. It's impossible to discuss art, but if the lady doesn't joke like that, she certainly won't be able to survive in such a place. The next morning came, and with it came wonderful weather. If life were always like this, the lady would have nothing to dream about. 2 months have passed since the character became Edith. She managed to get used to the peaceful life of an aristocrat who needed to do a minimum of work quite quickly. The lady adapted much better than she thought. The Sistine Hall helped in enjoying the paintings, luxurious cosmetics, and the best cuisine did their job. There are still looks that look at the lady with hostility, but Anna, whom she sees every day, is always polite. They had not seen Renan for quite some time. He was passing by, so, stopping, the red-haired woman, out of politeness, asked how he was doing. The lady was taking a walk, because thanks to the excursion, she knows her bearings well and often visits the hall. The heroine continues to talk about the weather and also asks how the young man is doing. He wants to say something, so he interrupts. No longer wanting to distract the baron, the girl says that they will see each other a little later when the time comes. Today, the lady also made it to the hill without incident. The real goal every day is the training ground. My husband is in great shape. This is not the first time the lady has looked at him, and he is still just as stunning. He's beautiful, even if it's terribly annoying. In order not to be late, the beauty is going to head back. After enjoying the wonderful spectacle, all that remains is to leave. Killian notices Lise and immediately lights up with a smile. He looks into the distance, showing his joy with his appearance. It turns out that a man even has such a face too. In her 20 years of life as Choi Soo-na, the lady would never have thought that she could behave like this. In her past life, she also never saw a truly handsome man. Because of this man, the lady cannot concentrate on her work. The best thing to do is get your thoughts out of your head and get to work. On the agenda is the analysis of documents for the family's weapons and armor. If Edith was entrusted with this, it means that she is trusted. The blonde leans forward, asking her friend what she is holding in her hands. Virgo distributes information from documents into tables, like a lady mother. There's a brief overview of the information. From a historical perspective, tables have existed since ancient times, but the author may well have intentionally created a world without them. Documents organized this way look much better. If anything, it is easier to comprehend information when it is written down properly. Savvy Sinclair should notice the effectiveness. This may not be convenient for other people. Edith is afraid that she was too hasty, but then Jocelyn arrives. Lise goes forward, beginning to explain to the lady how everything works, although just recently she herself did not understand. This leads to flashbacks from work in a past life. If Mother doesn't mind, the lady is going to ask her for her opinion on the tables that we managed to compile. Starting to explain everything, the heroine calls the woman closer to her, completely forgetting about the blonde who stands aside. Virgo openly acted against her friend, although she promised not to be a villain. She says that a friend suggested this to her. The Duchess is no longer listening. She admires how she managed to write down the information in a way that everyone else could understand. The woman liked it because it was a really skillful method. From now on, you should try to do this with everything. Edith was asked to write down all the other papers exactly so that Ludwig could then look at it and learn for herself. The very next day, the beauty came to show others the organization in the form of a grid and say who exactly came up with it. The girl is smart, and it looks effective, but in such a condensed form, it can be taken out of the estate with ease. Killian continues to behave completely inappropriately. The child is in exactly the same marriage of convenience as the man himself. Riegelhoff is even worse, because she left her home and came to strangers. The best thing to do would be to show her some sympathy. Renan arrived just in time for the conversation. He was surprised that the gentleman was also in the room, but this was an even better option. While the mother went to the blonde man, the man approaches Lise to ask her about her thoughts about her new friend. The lady put it correctly, because Edith is quite smart and educated. She does everything exactly as needed, without errors. Unlike Sinclair, who did not receive any education in the family, even if she doesn't know something, she learns much faster. The young man knew that something was wrong. The girl helps Jocelyn because she has been studying in the duchy for 4 years, but even she is jealous of the red-haired one. It's not that the wife is smart. Most likely, she was taught and trained in such things from early childhood so that she knew. A woman is not as stupid or simple as she seems. Killian arrived in the discussion room again in the evening. It seems that the young man did not come just to see each other. If the lady had asked him to stay late, he would not have done that. Every time the lady sees Killian, she wants to play a prank on him. After all, life is not as fun without this joy. The girl still doesn't understand why the hero came at such an hour. Perhaps the Count again started some kind of provocation. Whatever the reason behind what is happening, the lady should quickly start a conversation without lectures that are not necessary. Speaking about the wonderful weather, but a little cold breeze, the beauty does not notice how the brunette put his hand right next to her, not giving her a chance to escape. He's too close, but he asks about the studio. It did not suit the woman's taste because she does not usually wear modest attire. The lady is known for her habit of not wearing the same thing twice, but that day she did not buy one. Then the clothes were not ordered because Choi decided to change her shocking and wasteful image. But even this became a reason for open hatred. Turning sharply, the red-headed woman says that they know absolutely nothing about her. There is no point in trying to be humiliated. If the atelier had not been suitable, another would simply have been found. But it seems that Ludwig is looking for any reason to hate his wife. From the moment the heroine entered the wedding ceremony hall, she noticed how the man blamed her for everything and wanted to find peace in this way. This all shows that the brunette considers himself the only victim, which in fact he is not at all. This can be considered an expression of feelings after the lady has received a place in their family. She speaks as if she got involved in all this on her own. In this case, it seems that the girl wants to say that she is not part of Regelhof and is different. Everything is falling into place. For people, the heroine will remain the daughter of that same count. Killian really doesn't know anything about the woman's identity. After everything has been said and warnings, the hero simply leaves. The virgin was offended, as if she was hearing all this for the first time. At first, I wanted to stay and enjoy the luxury, but this was a wrong decision. It's worth finding a way to get out as quickly as possible. Maybe it's the scent of roses, but there's a mist in front of my eyes. From the very beginning, the man could not see his wife outside the image of the Regelhof daughter. According to all the information that the guy has, there is not a single line about the Count who behaved like that. He doesn't understand why his head hurts so much. Lise runs towards him and greets her friend as soon as she sees him at the end of the corridor. She has a worried expression on her face. The hand reaches to the forehead. The barely noticeable aroma of violets immediately hits the nose. The girl is like a wild flower blooming in a field, as lively and simple as it can be. The strong scent of roses is simply nauseating, so this is what the hero thought. He asks not to take his problems into his head. The whole problem is that the brunette had already seen the unfortunate girl in the morning. The guy talks about Edith again. The lady is in a bad mood, even if there should be no reason for this. The beauty asks the maid to go for a walk with her. In the past reality, when Choi was in a depressed mood, she ordered a large iced Americano and walked mindlessly. The girl says that he warned the Duchess, and then when they choose an outfit, they can immediately go to the garden. Due to confinement within 4 walls, the lady feels increasingly depressed. If you think about it, after moving into a new body, she never walked on the street. The lady went outside and immediately felt her mood improve, which was no longer at 0. The maid asks where they are going, but the mistress wanted to ask the same question. She herself doesn't know what to do. If Regelhof is looking for a cute atelier or dessert cafe, then La Belle Marie is a great place. On Darcis Street, there are cultural institutions, as well as banks and several specialty stores with things. One of the most popular confectionery shops, Peridot, is also located on the same street. Strawberry desserts and other sweets are notoriously difficult to purchase. If the maid is so knowledgeable about everything in the world, then you need to find a jewelry store. Ambul has been working since ancient times. Detrius and Ruth Pecan are also good options, and the brunette would recommend each of them as they are good. The girl could not believe for a long time that Anna is an encyclopedia character, explaining the intricacies of the world for the convenience of the writer. In this case, they are looking on Darcis Street. The lady would like to sort out the jewelry that she removed from her robe. Half an hour later, the girl managed to get her money. The diamonds were the smallest, but they managed to get the most for them. All matters were finished quite quickly. Fatigue came unexpectedly, so the beauty stretched. Edith was a little worried because she didn't know what the bank did, but creating an account was easier than it initially seemed. The bank had no problems using a pseudonym. It's easier now that the money is outside the mansion. It is never clear when the Ludwigs will throw the heroine out of the gate. The girl apologizes for doing business instead of going for a walk. To make amends, the beauty takes the maid with her to the cafe that she suggested. Now that there is a financial cushion, next on the list will be a carriage. They say that commoners do not have carts, but then you need to find out what they ride on when they go on a journey. Most often, you rent a carriage or pay for a ticket to a freight train. This is one of the best options. They say that in such places it is very crowded and shakes strongly, since the planting density is too high. To get to the local town, you need to take the train from the station at the south gate. In cheap taverns, they ask for 3,000 sen per room for one night, and in more expensive places, it's already 7,000. If there are people who want to sleep in the stable, you need to beware of fleas. Nodding, the red-haired girl remembers everything. She had other questions besides what she had already asked. It is unlikely that Anna, the family's maid, will not report the fact of the lady's departure and will not convey to everyone the information that remains with her. For now, the heroine is going to dwell on the question she asked last, so as not to arouse unnecessary suspicion. Riegelhoff will have to figure out the rest on her own. She reads a book about grains and wonders if she can start farming since she has already read the information. Anna interrupts the heroine's lesson. Jocelyn is looking for her daughter-in-law because it turns out that the jeweler has already arrived and is waiting. The girl cannot believe that the very important day has come. This is the day of the original jewelry episode in which Edith was humiliated. At this moment, the girl receives what she deserves for the first time in the Ludwig house. All the residents, as usual, pay full attention to Lisa. The girl was uncomfortable with being left out, just like Sinclair herself, so she decided to pick up the pendant. The heroine could not silently endure such a nondescript necklace being recommended to her, so she laughed at the blonde. It seemed that her friend's eyes were dusty, since she had already chosen something like this as something worthwhile that she showed. The beauty did not immediately understand what this was connected with. Virgo liked all the other decorations more. The special exhibit is also excellent, but not the last thing. After that, Cliff bought all the jewelry for his sister with a blank check, so the last item was the only one left. The Duchess left them alone. Usually the lady sits nearby and helps, but this time she is like the third wheel in the company. Lise once again refuses gifts, but she is asked not to do this. They both like to give gifts, so it's worth accepting them. Surely the real character would feel left out. Choi didn't want to go just to avoid seeing Killian. The heroine calls the girl by name, remembering that they left her completely alone. She is offered to try on beauty with a red stone. This is a ruby of the highest standard. The design of the gold chain and the installation of the stone itself are high-quality work of the best jewelers. The Virgin is already reaching forward to the pendant, but Ludwig snatches the thing right out of her hands. It's like he doesn't want anything to happen. The man has a completely calm expression on his face as he places the necklace around his wife's neck. Most likely it's because of his mother. You can't make your mother worry, so the lady smiles while asking her husband's opinion. He quietly mutters that everything is fine. Going to the jeweler, the young man asks for an invoice for the purchase. This is the first gift a man gives to his bride. Cliff is going to pay for the rest. If he buys everything for his beloved, then Edith will have absolutely no choice left. What she received is quite enough for the girl. I wonder how much one could get from the sale of one large necklace. Turning her gaze to the thing, the lady sighs. Even if she were in the most desperate situation, she would not be able to sell what she received. Virgo ignores the invitations that are sent to her, but this is very difficult. Edith must have often gone to parties and spread rumors there. A letter from Count Riegelhoff came into my hands. He writes that his daughters have already been given enough time to get used to the Ludwigs. It's time to do your part in secret. The man heard rumors that the girl was helping the Duchess with documents and had access to papers in the duchy. If among the documents there are papers about weapons and armor, then they should be stolen. If this is difficult to complete, you can make notes and send them. If a man knows about help with documents, then for sure, some of his spies have already appeared and are reporting. The written answer begins. Ludwig, who was able to see in person, is unshakable, and it is beyond imagination that someone wants to do something terrible. Since the beginning of her stay in the duchy, the daughter has not committed a single bad act. The title of nobility is in all aspects the will and power of His Majesty the Emperor. Then it is not clear why the young man hates them so much. When His Majesty finally lives with the princess, there is no reason for the Archduke of Lanston to take the throne. The best solution would be to renounce betrayal and develop the strengths of the Riegelhoff family with the patronage of Ludwig. Finally, the lady expressed everything she wanted to say. This is probably what the correct position to use looks like. Perhaps the Count will not go that far with his ambitions, but at least this does not concern his already married daughter. All the work done turned out terrible. The Duke once again asks if Edith really didn't hand over the documents to her father, and she even swears. In this case, the lady has just trampled her father and the honor of the house into the mud. No other choice is given, even if she doesn't understand. Renan, through his lordship, hands over the documents that they had recently sorted out directly into the hands of the beauty, who raises her eyebrow in surprise. These pieces of paper have no value. The Baron prepared this especially for his daughter-in-law, who, obviously, was not completely trusted. The fact that the lady's father sold the items on this list is evidence that he used the information. I can't believe what was said even after a while. There must be another reason. It doesn't matter whether they were fakes or not, because the beauty does only what she was instructed to do. It's amazing that the red-haired woman pretends to be innocent in such a situation. Only Edith herself had access to the papers. The documents were also seen by Renan, the servants holding the same document, as well as the Duchess and Lise checked them together. This is an accusation. After the wedding, the girls never addressed her by her husband's last name. It was she who brought herself into a fictitious marriage in order to save herself. Getting up from her seat, the heroine frowns. In this case, Lady Sinclair is now called by a different last name, even if she is not Cliff's wife. The woman is not going to calm down, because they literally want to pin all the blame on her. She guessed that this was exactly what would happen. If the lady was trusted, she would not be trusted with a fake, but simply would not be allowed to touch the cases. The family wanted to put pressure on the Count to confirm the leak. There is no more strength left. It is not clear how the document came into the hands of Riegelhoff if his daughter refused him. Renan, with whom it seemed to have a good relationship, betrayed the maiden immediately, without hesitation, but frankly, it was not him. The others aren't involved either, which means he's a spy. If the mansion has its own rat, there was no point in sending the heroine herself there. In the original, she handed everything over to her father. Everything was exactly as it should have been, and Edith, who received punishment for violating her probation, remained an outcast forever. The episode happened anyway, although the lady tried her best to avoid it. This is a sign that Choi has landed a role that she can't get rid of. There is only one conclusion, and it is not the best. The lady will continue to fall one by one until one day she falls at the sword and hands of Killian. A tear rolls down your cheek on its own. Quickly hiding her face, the lady again reminds that she had previously sworn allegiance. The girl asks to cut her throat, since no one is sure of her honesty. Cliff confidently says it's worth investigating. Edith is now on probation, and if she is truly innocent, she must pray that the truth will come out. Everything is exactly the same as in the novel. Renan was about to escort the girl out, but Killian grabs her hand, saying that he will be the one to carry it out. The man screams in anger. Her father had a nickname on the battlefield called Headcutter, and she decided to ask him to do the same to himself. The Virgin does not understand that she is really proposing to cut off the head in front of everyone, although Ludwig, if necessary, would have completed the task without delay. Turning away, the heroine asks why her husband is so annoyed by the fact that she is asking for death, because he doesn't care. If a girl has committed a crime, she will be punished, but if not, then the truth will come out. For the whole family, the daughter-in-law is to some extent a criminal. If they don't trust her, she's not going to do the same to them. It was the Ludwigs who gave forged documents and also reported what actions the Count performed on the papers. Obviously, they are also investigating. Virgo sits within 4 walls and silently accepts any verdict. As it turned out, the brunette was going to investigate quietly, without the others. The man swears on his honor that everything will be according to law and justice. As he progresses, he promises to give new clues. If the young man doesn't want to be biased, then he should think about it, because in such a situation, Edith and Lise ended up on the same list. The princess comes out to meet her friend. Her name is Catherine Iberia. They had not seen Sinclair for a very long time. The only blood relative of the emperor is 4 years younger than him. She is the most selfish and spoiled in this story, like a wild animal. Virgo is the only aristocrat in the empire with short hair. This is just a walking horror who wears breeches even to official celebrations instead of a dress. Even the king himself came to terms with this statement, because he was tired of running after his sister in an attempt to beg her to do something. The blonde greets her highness, but she asks to speak to her more freely than they already speak. Last time, Lise promised to come in a month, so she was greeted in person. During this time, The girl should not have cooled down. Only in front of Sinclair can Iberia be seen as friendly, even though she won the heart of her ex, Cliff. Catherine noticed that Killian had not arrived. He recently got married, so he couldn't leave Edith all alone on the estate. The event can hardly be called joyful, because this is an ordinary political game with the Regelhoffs, who themselves climbed forward first. Obviously, they came to discuss what was happening. Langston and his henchmen are too vile. Things may go smoothly because the girl is dumber than she thought. It will be strange to hate political conversations as a family member. His Majesty must be very upset about what is happening. It is difficult to talk about the situation in the country. The couple is going to go for a walk, so Cliff can discuss all the wisdom directly with the king. The man promises to convey his greetings to the Duke and Duchess as he leaves. The princess promises to show Lise a new horse in the stable. A little earlier, the brothers got into a fight. Killian became angry when he learned that the investigation was not over yet, and the man was meddling in the affairs of the palace. The young master wanted to say that the investigation had not yet been completed, but he remained silent to mock him. The girl remembers lying in the hospital and crying. Ed's roommate asked if she was in a lot of pain. The lady often cried because she was afraid to die and believed that it would be better to just kill herself for the benefit of others. My parents are worried about the disease, and my older brother, who can become a bone marrow donor, said that he doesn't want to because the operation is painful. The boy said that it was better for his sister to disappear, but in reality, it is not always possible to get everything you want right away. Ida is jealous that her friend has a friend with the same bone marrow who would help. She wishes she could turn 20 and wear her hair in a ponytail. The girl would put on her lips, apply makeup, and go out. I want to watch how people live around me. The dream always came back. The girl knows that she can withstand any difficulties as long as she has the strength to do so. Ida said she was afraid to die, but after receiving a bone marrow transplant, she left without even saying goodbye. This is the reason why you should not give up. After the woman changed her mind, it even became much calmer for her to live in this world. Probation is a punishment, but is it true? For a homebody like Edith, it was like a vacation. To enjoy time alone, this is what helped her. Everything was fine at least, until Killian decided to show up for lunch without warning in advance. The girl was quite skeptical, so she asked what brought the man to lunch hour without an invitation. The guy doesn't have time for explanations, which he skips. He behaves ill-mannered and, since he is handsome, believes that everything is allowed. Turning away, the virgin tries to concentrate on dinner and not on thoughts about her husband. She shouldn't act suspicious. The brunette reports that the family is investigating loopholes through which they can gain access to documents. Lise also became a defendant in the investigation. The red-haired girl is still busy with lunch. She still hasn't choked because she considers herself innocent, and the soup is pretty good. There is some bread left, but the portion is gone, so Killian holds out the plate so that there is now enough food. As soon as the lady left dinner, she immediately felt an emptiness in her soul. She doesn't know what to do, because there are no telephones or novels in the world. In order not to get confused in her thoughts, the lady asks Anna what the ladies do in their time. Usually, this is embroidery or drawing, but active ones enjoy horse riding. The girl was hoping for something different, more interesting, because she doesn't know how to do anything, and she's generally afraid to let horses come even close. Sewing clothes for dolls and outfits is in fashion. Parents do not skimp on this hobby, because it is useful for developing sewing skills. Previously, couples made dolls themselves, but now you can buy a pretty good thing for 50,000 sen. The girl hands over 200,000, asking to buy dolls and fabric for sewing. Anna can keep the remaining money for herself. A refusal is heard, so the lady wonders why they don't want to accept gifts from her, but it seems that she scared her. It was known from the very beginning that Anna was attached to Watch, but despite the situation they find themselves in, the maiden is one of the few in the mansion who treats well. The amount the beauty offers is not enough to bribe the maid's pride, so everything is fine. In the end, the girl agreed and soon returned. At first, the heroine turned out to have a beautiful dress, but in the end, something went wrong. As always, the brunette prepared with a bang. She brought a lot of materials that the lady would need. The dolls were purchased as a ready-made set, and the patterns were ordered from a tailor. It seems that for some reason the girl became kinder, but Edith was never able to guess what exactly the reason was. If you think about it, in her previous life, Ludwig didn't even think about a hobby, but now she was able to do what she liked. Once I finished sewing, the dress looks great, but of course not from the inside out. From the outside, the job seems decent. The next day, Killian burst into the office early in the morning and learned that they had found a document signed in his wife's handwriting. Damien immediately told Layla what Edith had done. She stole documents from the Duke and was probably in a hurry, since the Count plans to attack the duchy within a year. From the very beginning, his daughter was a bargaining chip. Despite the probationary period, the maiden stole the information as quickly as possible. That same Duke Axel would not have entrusted the girl with important documents, so Riegelhoff fell into an excellent trap. The boy is worried about the fact that Killian cares about his wife. The sister offers to tell the truth in order to cleanse the Count. The heroine will cope on her own. Lise herself raises suspicions. Because of the wedding, the likelihood of getting closer to Cliff has increased. I can't believe that the girl is claiming a place that doesn't even rightfully belong to her. If the situation in which the lady is firmly held in the hands of the Duke worsens, then Layla's marriage contract will be annulled. You can use the red-haired one, because if a friend is fascinated by her husband, she herself will get rid of her very quickly. I can't believe that Edith despises the Duke because he wants her to get what she deserves. She doesn't believe what's happening. Renaud interrupts the conversation, which looks more like an argument between the couple. His lordship is already expecting the beauty at his place. It seems the servant also thinks the girl is a criminal. Killian should relax, because in his heart he is glad that his wife will disappear. The list of weapons the dealer received turned out to be in the girl's handwriting, but it appears to have been copied. The situation most likely occurred due to a mistake by the father, so Ludwig is not going to punish the maiden just for a miscalculation. This is not about receiving punishment, because the lady said earlier that everything lies in the part of her that was lowered into the mud. The tables are drawn clumsily, and it looks like the scribbles of a person who does not know about the drawings. If the lady had initially known that she would be discovered, she would have written in her own handwriting. If you look closely, the letters are slightly different. Asking Renan to bring his diary for comparison, the heroine plunges into study. There must be another reason to go this far. Someone actually carefully forged the document. The lordship needs to catch a mole that has entered their estate. The Duke called Lise to a meeting. The girl said that last time Edith showed how to write down information in a new form. No one, except the Duchess and some servants to whom she could explain, knows about the tables. The blonde herself claims that she did not understand anything. The girl asks why she is being asked such a question, but the man asks not to take unnecessary things into his head. Edith doesn't understand how the lady didn't understand, because last time she definitely understood the technology of filling the cells. It turns out that things are getting weirder. Obviously, the woman can say something else in her defense. The heroine does not remember exactly how Lise proved Elite's guilt in the novel, but she hoped that such a pure soul would find more significant evidence, and not the wonderfully formed nonsense about possible involvement. The red-haired one did not falsify documents, which means that the blonde could not have written sending papers. Virgo notices that Killian is still reading her diary. She immediately takes him away, screaming about bad manners. The girl is right, because the Duke does not have solid evidence, so the case will be hidden, and the probation period will also be revoked. Killian cannot believe his wife's words, knowing what the Riegelhoffs have already done. She herself knows that it will almost always be like this. Even if the heroine denies her guilt several times, no one will listen to her. We are talking about my father's conspiracy. At that moment, numerous images flashed through my head of how Edith seduced men to extract information, but also ruined a party for a family that was favorable to the Ludwigs. The woman more than once ruined the wedding of the children of that family. It's strange that the memories appeared at such a time. Somehow the lady was released from her probation, but, as expected, Lise did not show favor. The Virgin stands outside the door, listening to the conversation between her friend and her husband, who are discussing what the beauty did earlier. There is no point in eavesdropping, because Killian's opinion is already known. He hasn't changed a bit. What the blonde said most likely hurt Riegelhoff, but if so, the woman is ready to provide a full explanation to her father. There is no point anymore, because the Duke decided to forget about the case due to insufficient evidence. The man runs down the corridor, remembering the words from the diary about how the lady came to the training ground to observe. It talked about the moment when the girl came, and her husband smiled at her. He never smiled at his wife like that. There is no point in mocking a girl who is already driven into a corner. The guy invites his brother to go train to unwind. The Duchess had been waiting for her daughter-in-law since the very morning, because she had heard that earlier she had had to endure a lot of difficulties that she had to go through. The burdens of the mind are much heavier than the burdens of the body. Most likely, the woman will be right even in this on the first try. Lowering her head, the beauty says that she really did not steal the documents, even if no one is able to believe it. Hearing the girl mumble, The woman takes her hand and assures her that she believes her, no matter what. It was hard for her all this time. Jocelyn knows that the lady tried her best to help, and saw how she tried to get used to her new surroundings. The heroine cannot help but know how this happened, because at one time she went through about the same thing when she got to a new home. It is not clear who played a cruel joke to stop Edith, but it definitely wasn't her. "I can't hold back anymore." The beauty burst into tears. Opening her mouth, the red-haired woman tries to say what happened to her in Regelhof, but everything seems to begin to float before her eyes. The young gentlemen were almost immediately informed that the lady was unconscious. The husband ran away so quickly that he left a column of dust behind him. Obviously, the lady became overexcited and fainted. Perhaps she has been in stressful situations lately. Yesterday, the lady stood confidently before the Duke during interrogation, but now her face looks tear-stained and red. Turning to his mother, the young man asks what they were talking about. The others did not believe her words, but the girl claimed that she had not faked anything. The Duchess became the person who said that she believed everything that her daughter-in-law said, and she immediately began to cry. No one had shown sympathy before, so the lady wanted to say thank you. This was especially painful. Words come to mind about how no one will ever believe her under any circumstances. My head starts to hurt as usual. Lise arrived just in time. She came to visit Edith, but noticed that Killian was too pale, although he was going to go rest. When a guy touches a girl's hand with the scent of violets, he feels a terrible headache. Saying that there is no point in worrying, the man leaves. The girl fell into a strange dimension. There is pitch darkness all around, which pulls her along with it away. It seems as if the heroine has died again, but in front of her there is an inscription that says that Edith has no right to talk about her secrets until she fulfills a special condition. The special task of the third stage is not shown. A second later, the lady flies down, falling into the abyss. The girl jumps up on the bed, starting to breathe. Anna, sitting next to her, does not believe that the lady has finally woken up, even if the chances were slim. The heroine slept for 2 whole days. It's because of what happened in the Duchess's office, and now when she tries to say something, she starts coughing. Before the maid leaves, the lady wants to ask about Killian, but immediately falls silent, because it is not that important. When the girl first woke up in Edith's body, she thought that she had become the main character, being a villain, and if she had behaved politely, she could have avoided a mortal fate. She thought that she would be able to become a good friend of the main character, and maybe she would even get the main character. As soon as the empty hope collapsed, the beauty decided to enjoy a quiet life. She thought she would be content as the daughter-in-law of the family. Regardless of Choi's will, the original episodes continued, no matter how much she changed the course of events. It was as if there was an unknown force in the world that was shaping the course of events. The lady cannot change the story because she is not the main character of the novel. Regelhof is a negative character in romantic fantasy. Her role is insignificant in the novel, where personal secrets are not revealed. The minor character, who is destined for a brutal death at the hands of his own husband, remained only in a certain time. The next episode will be the same as in the book, so the lady does not understand what she should expect from the future. The beauty, feeling threatened by the leaked documents, went to Killian's bedroom to kiss him while he slept in an attempt to seduce him. Even in those moments when the young man is polite, he still thinks badly of his wife, because they were forced to marry against their will. The man Edith fell in love with is wonderful. After what she does, he will hate her with all his heart. The hero should wake up with eyes full of contempt, but instead he grabs the lady's hand as soon as she kisses him. The girl no longer pretends, because she wants a man so much that she no longer has the strength to restrain herself. Regelhof is thrown onto the bed, asking her to try to seduce the young man. Perhaps she will be good even with her body, and not with everything else. The sitting beauty is not Lise, and in comparison with her means absolutely nothing. If this is a marriage of convenience, you shouldn't expect anything. There is no point in asking a question about the possibility of what is happening, because it was the woman who snuck into her husband's room in the middle of the night. The virgin should be annoyed that she was only spying, but now there is a chance to touch the body live. The man was definitely reading a diary. The girl thinks she's going crazy because they really spent a night that was wonderful for both of them. The young man came to the girl and picked her up in his arms to take her to the bath. It reminds him of the first night when she lay in the water. In fact, it sounds nice, but the beauty does not understand what has come over the hero, who is usually extremely menacing and angry. Even if last night happened because of anger towards Edith, the lady thought that he would regret it in the morning. But no, The innocence of the first kiss should have belonged to Lise, but Riegelhoff herself took it. But in the novel, the attempt to seduce did not work. Maybe the man did everything he needed to do out of pity. He could do this because Sinclair leaned towards Cliff. The brunette asks for forgiveness for making her move a lot, although the lady has only recently recovered. She should rest. It would never have seemed possible to hear the young man's voice full of tenderness, given their relationship from the very beginning. Asking Anna not to be distracted by her attacks, the heroine tries to force herself to shut up and try to think about what is necessary. After the night, I had a dream with the conditions of the first stage being fulfilled. Since this happened, it means the author's rights have decreased. No one will answer the questions, but I still want to know everything. Another billboard appears in front of the girl just in time. The system definitely knows that Choi is in a new romance, and anyone who gets caught in any way will try not to take advantage of the character's unsuccessful actions. So the next task is to follow Edith's example from the original novel, which is pretty mean in itself. There were a few strange things. Since Choi completed the task of the first stage, the author's reign was significantly reduced. There is a subject who has power or authority. It is like the god of the world who subjugates the entire book. For a complete understanding, the beauty lacks information that is carefully hidden. It is not clear how the author's rights have been reduced if the novel has been completed long ago. Perhaps the god of this world had an influence on the episode, the character, or the storyline itself, which could not be changed so easily. Perhaps a person's influence spans the entire book, and it cannot be affected even by time. I wanted to know where that writer was. The most important thing that the girl learned last night is that it is quite possible to change the plot of the novel. It's worth watching what choice the man makes in the next episode. Edith decided to put things aside and come to the Duchess. The woman is interested in the well-being of the beauty, who was previously lying unconscious. The condition is much better, so they apologize for disturbing Jocelyn. She had recovered a long time ago, but she was afraid to come. The Ludwigs recently visited the palace. They made a trip to settle matters according to the Archduke's reminiscent power. Axel was also worried about his daughter-in-law's health and asks for forgiveness for his terrible attitude. His manner of speech can be brutal, as he has spent a lot of time on the battlefield. The woman asks what the Virgin wants to do in the future. If the lady so desires, she is not obligated to continue to help with the documentation. If the lady were to blame for that matter, they would whisper about her and point fingers at her as if she were a daughter-in-law who had lost trust. It's painful to even imagine something like this in your head. If Mother doesn't mind, then it's best to continue to help with affairs in the duchy, but it's better to work under the guidance of a person who is trusted, because there is still a rat in the estate. The heroine wants a place where her actions will not be misunderstood. In fact, they had already thought about this, and Renan said that he needed helpers. The person usually works with papers and is not part of the family. It was he who prepared false documents to check the girl. Like Anna, he is one of those who treats his friend with an open mind. If he's not disappointed, then everything can work out. I've already met Filch at least a few times, so this option is perfect. The facial expression remains joyful. The man is emotionless, even after greeting. She says that they will work together, but doesn't get any reaction. To begin with, the blonde asks to sort the receipts by year. This is the simplest and most harmless job you can think of. Everything is in complete disarray because of the employee's past. He stated that he was offended by Filch and then ran away. Of course, that man did not go unpunished. The lady shouldn't think she'll be lenient because she's Killian's wife. The woman got down to business almost immediately. The office turned out to be too calm, and only from time to time it was interrupted by the creak of a pen, the rustle of sheets of paper as they were turned over, and the sun's rays breaking through the window pleasantly breathed the same tranquility. The end of the working day came unnoticed. The girl asks for a few minutes to indicate where she has managed to stop. The lady did a wonderful job, just like Renan himself. She does not ask him for leniency, which she does not need. In a past life, the boss emphasized friends in the team and was successful. People like Choi were simply belittled. The girl wants to receive only the competence and fairness for which the man is known, the best. The blonde man was invited to dinner to describe Edith. Even though he was busy, it was impossible not to carry out the order. Despite everything, the beauty still wants to help the Duke, and the Duchess, moreover, asked for a job on her own. It's strange that my brother spoke about something like this, and in such words. The man was assigned to watch the mistress. Riegelhoff volunteered to help with the duties that remained. Perhaps the hero might have noticed something suspicious. The man cannot answer with precision, since he saw the girl at work for only a quarter of the day. The office is not up to the standards of such an aristocratic lady, but she worked hard. The girl did not express dissatisfaction with her work, and one could say that she was just as scrupulous in what she was assigned. The heroine has excellent concentration and understanding, as well as judgment. In addition, she is distinguished by her perseverance. Obviously, the Baron liked the assistant because his facial exercise said everything for him. After the man left, even Lise was surprised. It was the first time she had heard Renan give such compliments to someone. Cliff laughed at the possibility that their servant might have fallen in love with Edith, but the girl immediately cut him off, asking him to shut up. Renan is a bachelor, so anything can happen. If the two get together, then the Count will look ridiculous in the eyes of everyone else. It will be a pity to lose the talented Baron, but this is not the worst thing. Brother can't believe that Killian actually cares about his wife. The man pouts but tries to laugh, saying that these are just jokes he uses. This can't be real. The gentleman walks from side to side along the corridor, only hoping that everything said is impossible. He promises the servant that he will come soon as the carriage is ready. The beauty of Riegelhof is different from the charm of Lisa. You can tell that she is sensual, and if the couple stays in a cramped office, something might happen. The door to the woman's room was open. The bright aroma of roses comes from there, but the room is empty because there is no one there. The young man noticed 2 dolls in the form of a couple, but out of nowhere, a girl appeared to throw them off and say that it was just a hobby. Anna was ordered to get rid of the dolls she was handling. Then the couple sat down at the table to just look at each other. The man asks how his beloved is doing, but she only says that she got a new job thanks to Jocelyn. The direction was to Filch's office. This family are true vassals of the Duke's house since ancient times. Viscount Theo assisted the Duke in his affairs from the very beginning, but from the moment he was entrusted with the estate, his son took over the duties. The guys grew up together from an early age. Killian always suggested that he go swing swords instead of reading boring books. If the man so desires, the young man promises that he will go and train with swords, but no more, because this will be an order. It cannot be said that they were on friendly terms with the Baron, because they were more strange than they actually seemed. Renan is an insignificant character whose appearance in the novel was not even noticeable. Since childhood, he has been closely connected with the Ludwigs. This suggests that in the New World, they may be different from their protégés, and their characters may be developed more deeply. It's strange that the Duke suddenly decided to come to the beauty and talk to her about this, because it seems a little strange. The beauty's face shows that she is wondering about her husband's visit. Very soon, he will go to the territory of Raisin to check the affairs of the estate. These lands are far from the capital, several days away by carriage. The house and territory will go to Killian as the second son. Because of the trip, the young man will be absent for a long time, and only later will he return. He asks if the maiden would like to go with him. Not believing what she heard, the heroine asks again with surprise, which is immediately noticeable on her face, best of all. Starting to laugh, Choi says that it was a great joke, because the invitation was out of politeness. She wishes you a good trip. Another working day has come to an end. The lady finally finished what took her forever to write. Renan looks at the girl with a rather strange look, which seems to be conducting a quick analysis of which he is capable. The Virgin finished her work early, so she can go to the Duchess, who is obviously already waiting for her in her chambers. Looking through the documents that the beauty filled out, the man is surprised at how the heroine managed to carefully and quickly sort the information. Jocelyn reminded that Countess Araminia's Bazaar would be held next month. A meeting will be held at their home to embroider items. Perhaps the girls will want to join, which means that the episode with the Bazaar has already begun and will be in full swing. Charity bazaars are held to collect monetary donations, and upper-class ladies usually offer their embroidery. An event like this is a great opportunity to demonstrate your honed skills and taste. Meetings before the organization are attended by ladies of all generations and ages. Considering the high position of the House of Ludwig among other families, they are placed above all others. It is Duchess Jocelyn who arranges the meeting before the charity bazaar. The blonde makes a face, saying that her skills are not that good, and then embroidery will compare with everyone else. The difficulty is that Edith does not have any embroidery skills, so as not to stand out among the aristocrats at the meeting where they go. The girl urgently needs to come up with an excuse. You should just try to avoid answering, and at the same time sincerely thank you for the part provided. Lise interrupts, saying that she won't be so nervous if she goes with her friend alone. They'll both feel better about what's going on. The main character cannot be surpassed, and this became clear very soon. She was worried about her embroidery, but it turned out to be wonderful. Sinclair had recently finished a muslin shawl and wanted to embroider a flower garden. She shouldn't have been nervous with such beauty. The ladies crowd around the girl, asking how she achieved such skill. The loom is quite difficult to operate. If you think about it, Edith can't remember if her friend did something similar in the novel, because the memory was never restored. The girl asks the red-haired girl what she is going to do. With her ability to embroider, all that remains is to try making a handkerchief. The girl immediately decides to help her friend, so she hands out different colors that are most likely suitable as a base. Surely the friend came up because she simply felt sorry that the girl was sitting by herself and was obviously just bored. One of the women says that last year her niece sewed a similar one. If you get down to work, everything will definitely turn out fine. The brunette says that she remembers the scarf and immediately asks how old the girl is. She is 16, and she is already carrying a child under her heart, which means she did embroidery at 14. The couple subtly hints at the fact that only children embroider similar patterns, and it all looks like a kindergarten from the outside. Sinclair helped with her advice, but the heroine wants to sew something beautiful just for Killian, because it will be special. The colors chosen by the heroine will suit the man, because they remind his mother of his eyes. Everything would have been fine with the Duke's eyes, too. At the same time, father and son had already arrived at the property. The Duke asks about this and asks for forgiveness for being so far away. Finding land with good potential is very difficult. The territory looks a little better than the guy himself imagined, and when the lands become his, he need not worry. The castle is in good condition thanks to many years of efforts by the servants. The interior decoration is somewhat harsh, but you can find a good furniture maker. Edith comes from a family that is drowning in wealth, so strict decoration will not be to her taste. These are not the only problem. Sighing, the hero asks how cold it will be in this place in winter, since it is already in the north. According to Ludwig, it will be a little colder than in the capital, because there will be heavy snow and negative temperatures. The young man is happy with the lands, because there are many young people on the territory. It is worth aiming to expand different areas of life. If you continue the direct route through the Filch Mountains, the entire territory will become one of the key points for traders. Focusing on his son's thoughts, the brunette asks if he is really happy, only with what he is talking about now. I want to start screaming and asking whether I need to demand more lands or a higher title, which I won't get anyway. Perhaps Axel thinks that the man will ask to give him the role of heir and the title of duke, which he has not yet earned. The young man always did nothing but follow the wishes of others, although he himself was always silent. The last wish the guy had was also mercilessly taken away with the wedding. Throwing rebellious thoughts aside, the hero says that he will not wish for anything else, because everything is already great. As soon as he succeeds in obtaining the title, Killian will immediately begin managing the lands without delay, which will lead to nothing. The scale of the bazaar truly amazes the eye. You can see a huge variety of products. The friend agrees that they should look around. The smell of pie emanates from the tables that are located to the side. Embroidered items are also laid out on the counter, which is located very close by. Anna said that the lady's scarf looked good, but she was lying. Someone has already bought what the blonde made, because there is a bow on it. Competition in the market should be high. The main male character is just looking for an opportunity to buy up all the products that his future wife makes. Choi wants to help Cliff with a difficult matter, so he offers to look at the goods from a different angle. Passing by a couple who are discussing something, the friends hear them discussing Sinclair, who freezes. They had not come for a long time, so they did not know that an illegitimate daughter would be allowed to walk around the bazaar without shame. The girl is the daughter of a count, but she was accepted into Ludwig's family as if she were relatives. No one knows how much the couple cherishes this baby. Whether in the new world or in a past life, there are individuals who criticize others without a twinge of conscience. Lise grabs her friend's hand and almost shakes, but she decides to save her, saying that she will never get used to the behavior of some in society. The villager, without a sense of tact, tries to start a verbal skirmish at the market while hiding on the sidelines. They are probably really far from the capital, because the heroine looks without even remembering the name of the person she sees in front of her. If Countess Brynn had not been recognized by one glance, then there is no point in talking about the paucity of knowledge that Riegelhoff has. The woman had heard rumors that the Duke had an obnoxious daughter-in-law, but not to that extent. The girl is many times worse than Lise. Being in the position of an unpleasant daughter-in-law, who is worse than the rest, while being at the very bottom, is not the best entertainment. The impudent girls left immediately at the mention of Cliff. The girl asks for forgiveness, because these were friends of Countess Sinclair. The blonde has no reason to worry. There is nothing to be ashamed of someone who does as wrong as they do. If you think about it, they should be on 4 parts of the original. Liza's reputation is divided into 2 opposite poles. The others decided not to notice the real daughter-in-law in the person of Riegelhoff herself, but that is what they call the blue-eyed girl. Killian arrived right on time. A friend immediately formed next to him, who began to glow with joy at seeing her friend. The lady doesn't know whether to say hello because she might be ignored. If she doesn't fit, the others will think twice. Approaching closer, the heroine asks how the journey was, almost making a slip of the tongue and saying that she missed her a lot. The trip was great, but the guy wants to know how things went with his wife while he was gone for such a long time. In fact, the red-haired girl tried to embroider something good with her terrible skills, but so far not everything turned out so perfect. Out of boredom, the lady drank too much tea, so she leaves to powder her nose, saying that she will be back soon. If everything had ended so well, the day would have been wonderful, but the lady was stopped in the corridor, grabbed by the hand. The heroine has already forgotten the voice of her brother. Shane really looks too annoyed by the situation that has developed. It seems to Riegelhoff that Ludwig's people are watching his sister, because in her letter, she asked to stop attacks on the glorious family. After this, the heroine sent documents that turned out to be fake. The Duke slipped in the wrong thing out of mistrust. It seems that there was a misunderstanding, because the girl wrote the letter from the bottom of her heart. Now I want to know where I managed to get the documents from. Taking her hand away from the grip that has weakened, the heroine immediately warns that she was not the person who sent the documents. The brunette sits, thinking that his wife is very late. She said that she would return soon. Looking at Liz, I immediately remember an incident that happened quite recently with those girls. It seemed that the lady did not care about other people's opinions, but then she decided to stand up for a person who was not so close to her. Killian gets up and heads forward. Sinclair's friends ask him where he is going, but he ignores them. Entering the restroom, the hero freezes because he sees Edith with Shane, but cannot hear their conversation. Eventually, Riegelhoff leaves. Sighing and collecting her thoughts, the beauty leaves. She almost immediately bumps into her husband near the exit. Already on the street, the girl wonders if they were looking for her on purpose. Perhaps she is simply flattered by the attention from her husband. The heroine's heart trembles because there is a person who cares where exactly the girl disappeared. At the charity bazaar that year, they bought everything they had. This means that Edith's own handkerchief was also purchased. The girl was afraid that the embroidery would remain until the end, but it's good that this didn't happen. The Duke's mother showed the bird that the woman had embroidered a little earlier, saying that it was the same color as her son's eyes. Surely, embroidering in this way was a simple trick on the girl's part to impress her mother. The man bought the thing just to prevent rumors from spreading. The girl wanted to get angry when she said that the letter was sincere, but she did not yet know that this was far from the end, because she saw her brother and the maid on the threshold. The man apologized for the commotion. Sophia, a beautiful former maid, has gone crazy because of longing for her mistress. The beauty sent out refusals to meet, but did not think that this would turn out badly for her. It's like nonsense. Even now, standing in front of the Ludwig family, Edith was trying to avoid punishment, but she did not know that Riegelhoff would be able to tighten the collar on her neck even tighter. In this case, Sophia can stay in the mansion and become the woman's personal servant. Killian begins to ruin everything with just words. For some reason, the brunette suddenly behaves completely differently from how he should have behaved, but nothing can be changed, even if he strongly protests. The mistress almost falls, but she is caught by a worried maid, who quietly says something bad in her ear. Hearing the story about her sister from Mr. Shane, the woman was truly surprised, but it turned out that the beauty was living peacefully. If you think about it, the episodes that will happen in the future will start because of Sophia's actions. Investigations due to information leaks and poisoning attempts will happen. The documents were not sent by the Duchess herself, so, most likely, someone simply copied her handwriting and set everything up. There is no point in talking about sad things. Sophia grabs onto her mistress and promises to remind her who her master is, because she forgot while she was free. The body hurts very much. The woman specifically hits those places that are not visible to others. The brunette did not expect that the Countess would decide to betray her family. She wrote the warning letter sincerely. There is no confidence in the Archduke's victory. His Majesty the Emperor firmly holds his power, and the family of Ludwig, loyal to him, has proven in battle that they are not inferior in military strength. The clan will fall sooner or later. The man speaks with such confidence, as if she herself had overthrown them long ago, that it's even funny to listen to. Even if Langston ascends to the throne, nothing will happen to him. They get rid of such henchmen quite quickly, and this is done by the people themselves. Father will take the title of Duke, but this will not help him. The girl lost her fear since she decided to make fun of her owners, who took care of her. The heroine can continue to pretend to be a stupid doll, but if she becomes useless, Sophia will end everything on her own. Sitting at the table in Renan's office, the girl tries to concentrate on work. She doesn't want to go back to the maid. As soon as the girl crossed the threshold, she took away all the freedom she had. She not only raised her hand, but also took away the food, forcing her to starve. The girl was very strict, and even viciously continued to mock the Count's daughter in every possible way. The beauty has already developed a tongue, because previously she was not so bold when she lived in her home. Even in her previous life, Choi had not been treated like this, so she hoped that she could endure even this. Edith has faced this since childhood, and when the lady thinks of her, who has never resisted, she promises herself not to give up. The girl was distracted from her thoughts at exactly the right moment. She liked the cookies that were in the office. Without noticing it, Riegelhoff himself ate all the cookies that remained on the plate. She asks for forgiveness. Offering to try, even if there is only a little left, the beauty says that she did not mean to do anything bad. The man doesn't like sweets, and he looks like he really doesn't like them. He rather chooses bitter or bland dishes. Unfortunately, ladies, the young man looks much more charming than usual. She can't help but run her eyes over him. The red-haired woman refused the offered second plate, but it was in vain, because hunger struck again already in the room. The heroine had no idea that Renan had planned the trip for a whole week, so of course she missed her opportunity. All that remains is to endure. I had already managed to get used to the bedroom since the due date, but Anna usually brought everything into the room, so no one suspected Sophia when she began to do the same. A lot of time has passed since Killian came to breakfast together, and the lady still did not understand what had changed. I can't believe the Duke trusted the words of Shane, whom he didn't know well. This wasn't the best idea. From hunger, thoughts begin to get confused in my head. It's worth taking a walk before Sophia eats the beauty's entire dinner. The maid personally trained the beauty for several years, but she changed in a short period of time. Even after the slap, the girl does not recoil. The brunette has lost control over her mistress, so it's worth teaching her some sense. Finally, she will have something to entertain herself with. Walking past the room, the woman notices Sinclair, who invites her friend to go with them to drink tea. Before arriving at the estate, young Riegelhoff asked to find out more about Lise, whom he had noticed a little earlier. The man wanted to know how she was doing, and also what things she liked, and which were not the best option. It is better to report everything in a letter. The maid's dreams of becoming a guy's wife vanished. It was always enough for her to be close, but now everything has changed 360 degrees. When a lady sees that the love of her life is interested in some trash, she cannot stand by and watch quietly. I feel dizzy from hunger. It doesn't matter what the heroine ate with Lise, because Sophia will force her to empty her stomach in any case. There was no point in trying the pie knowing where it would end up a little later. Killian glared at the lady with a pitiful gaze that irritated her. Sophia brought the same peach cake that Sinclair asked her to give. I had to disappoint so that no one would suspect anything. Throwing the tray onto the girl's lap, the brunette asks to get started before she changes her mind and decides not to be entirely generous. It was unexpected that the maid brought food, but it doesn't matter what she was up to, because a lady needs to eat at least something. The poisoning episode ensues because after the first bite, the lady coughs up blood while Sophia laughs. She pretends to ask the lady to hold on. At the same moment, the brunette recovered with attacks on the girl for poisoning Edith's pie. Everything is like the original. Poison, which causes stomach pain, was added to Lisa's pie, and then the woman accused the girl of poisoning. Getting out of bed after she came to, the lady tries to say something, but Sophia simply shuts her up. The beauty says that she just had a stomach ache, even though she had previously coughed up blood that came straight out. Killian orders a search of the room, but there will be no point. The maid had to get rid of the evidence in the estate. One of the maids found a suspicious vessel with a skull that literally screams that there is poison inside. Sitting down on the bed, the red-haired woman assures that this bottle does not belong to her. Perhaps someone did it out of spite. The bottle was Sophia's miscalculation, or simply the result of the storyline of the original novel being realized, which begins. The girl did not understand how anyone from the family thought of searching the room. She pretended to be the smartest one, but in reality, she couldn't even do something basic. After these words, the heroine was hit again. She should remain silent, even if in any case nothing will help get out of the situation. According to the doctor, the poison was not strong, but when exhausted it causes severe pain or even bleeding, which is what happened. After Cliff leaves, Killian asks if there are any medications to at least somehow relieve the pain that makes it difficult to breathe. The man prescribed an anesthetic, but this would not help his wife because she had been starving for several days, and even the weakest substance could cause death. Among girls, there are often those who want to lose weight and do not eat, but this cannot be true in the case of this lady. It was the reason for malnutrition that made the lady look so skinny. She decided to poison herself, but why if she hadn't already eaten? It seems the heroine was up to something again because she ended up doing the wrong thing. She is cunning like no other. Before marriage, the lady had a reputation for attracting attention. Such shots are forgotten by society in the blink of an eye. It's hard to believe that now Killian can only sit next to the bed and watch the beauty suffer. Virgo hears the guy's voice, or it just seems to her because of everything that's happening around her, which puts so much pressure on her. As she thought, her husband decided that she did everything on purpose. Turning away, Edith simply remains silent. She doesn't know what to say, and doesn't even want to continue to defend herself from attacks and mistrust. The heroine asks the man to leave. It seemed that I had long ago stopped hoping for a kind attitude, but it still hurt. In the end, only Lise was the one who stood up. She believed that there was another reason for the poisoning. If the friend really wanted to frame the beauty, then it is unclear why, when she woke up, she only complained of feeling unwell. It is not clear why everyone thinks Edith is bad. No one knows how much the girl was waiting for someone the same age as herself. The virgin could no longer restrain herself, and she herself asks for forgiveness for her doubts in this angel who believes everyone. After the story, the lady asked her mother what things Sinclair would like, because she wanted to give her a good gift. The girl loves to embroider, but it seems that it will be difficult to find something suitable, so something related to this is easier. A week later, the beauty finally recovered. It had been forever since she had been able to return to work. As usual, it was all over very quickly. Killian burst into the bedroom, yelling at Ludwig for yet another prank. It seems to the man that his wife will deny everything again, but this is not so. She is only going to answer when everything is explained to her. As it turned out, Sinclair lost consciousness. This happened just when she was embroidering with donated threads and was poisoned. The girl doesn't believe it, because she bought everything from the seller and asked him to wrap the gift there. During this time, no one could touch them. In an excerpt from the novel, Sophia applied poison to the tip of an embroidery needle, and the lady decided that she could change everything by donating threads. But it turned out that the efforts were not justified. The beauty begs her to stop suspecting her, and stop at least for a while to think about everything. If the power of the original is so great, then in the context of that situation with the poisoned pie, the heroine could not have done that. The wife seems to think that her husband doesn't want to believe her, but this isn't the first time strange things have happened, which is starting to get a little annoying. The girl cannot remain above suspicion. The beauty asks to assign a maid to her who will keep an eye on her. Killian agrees, not listening to Sophia muttering, who does not understand why they suddenly decided to choose someone better than her. The lady is glad that the guy immediately took action, so very soon none other than Anna will become her maid again. If there had been a delay, the brunette would have finished the girl off on the spot. Obviously, she expected to continue the abuse. The young man has solved the problem, and now demands an explanation of what happened to Sinclair while something was happening. The seller is already being interrogated, but he would not compromise his business. Only a limited number of people are allowed to enter the room. This may sound like an excuse, but it seems like someone is trying to scapegoat the woman. She is sure that they are trying to harm the girl with impunity. An example is Earl Sinclair. There are rumors that the half-brother and sister have repeatedly tried to harm the illegitimate child. This is the first time a man has heard of something like this, but it is also impossible to deny the theory, because anything could happen. It will be difficult to detect in the estate, but it is realistic to have at least one spy Sinclair, and perhaps even Riegelhoff. From the very beginning, the beauty thought that the Ludwig family was trying to frame the Count's daughter in order to grind him into powder. The guy believes that they would not have done this, but he himself suspects without evidence. Even when his wife was close to the end, he did not believe her. The girl would not like to show criticism so much, so she asks not to worry because she will never do that again. The beauty's guesses are quite good, but her father and brother are unlikely to accept them because they are not so supportive. Unlike the incident with the pie, the young man at least pretended to believe it. The heroine herself does not want to be found innocent. Until now, Lisa, who has seen all the injustice due to the past of the Riegelhoff family, has come to her defense, but she would be disappointed if she thought that her friend poisoned her. The man wonders if the lady she knows hates, because everyone praises her so much, unlike herself. Edith Ludwig would not envy another person just because of praise, which would still not be enough for her. The lady didn't think she would say something like that, but she didn't have time to continue because they grabbed her head, as if checking her hair. The brunette reaches closer and then kisses the beauty, who, with surprised eyes, does not even find the strength to pull away. Turning away, Killian almost instantly apologizes for what happened, because he really didn't mean to do anything wrong. A few days later, the probationary period was over. The poison is too rare, so it was decided that there was insufficient evidence to draw any conclusions. The poison turned out to be too severe, so Lise never recovered, even if she believed it. Cliff won't just leave this matter like that. The princess was angry at the fact that the probationary period would be over. No matter how crazy Langston is, this cannot be tolerated. It feels like everyone has forgotten about Lise. If Catherine had not been ordered to stay in the palace, she would have arrived at the estate herself for inspection. As Killian said then, in any case, nothing can be changed. Too many people could have entered Sinclair's chambers. Even if this is so, it is not clear why the girl herself poisoned her gift. According to Cliff, everything was thought out, because the poison was applied to the tips of things. The guy's theories that his wife couldn't use real poison in that sense were almost confirmed, and even the Duke agreed. Even if it was Edith or her maid, it would be difficult to prove that they did exactly what they wanted. Catherine is on the prince's side, so she listens to a new version of events. They will make a new plan. That Riegelhoff wouldn't have traveled with the Duke in the same carriage. She wouldn't have set foot in the palace, but now she's sitting opposite. A few hours earlier, the beauty came to see her mother. She said that she looked much better than before. Thanks to Anna, who became a maid again, everything became better. The lady often invited her to dine together at the table. Renan asked about his health and is already waiting for the girl to come help him. Before that, I want to meet the princess in the castle. Jocelyn took this as a good sign. But knowing that the couple is on good terms with Lise, the beauty is afraid of what might happen. Catherine is known for not observing etiquette and, moreover, always does as she wants. She is known for her masculine character. They said that the woman often broke in wild horses and only became sweet next to Sinclair. In the palace, Iberia was the only living soul not limited by the rules. Choi liked her when she read the novel. The heroine is really cool with a good character, so there is hope that she will side with Edith. When the girl first met the girl, she was next to Cliff, towards whom she became jealous. In the end, charmed by Lisa's kindness, the beauty began to care about her more than about the Duke. The situation in the hall turned out to be much worse than initially expected. Bowing, the maiden does not hear any greeting. Riegelhoff can't even open his mouth until the princess speaks first, but so far nothing happens. An ominous atmosphere hangs in the air, even after the blonde clarifies the identity of the beauty, who nods her head. There are rumors that the girl likes to poison people, but she has never used poison. The previous behavior was not the best, but things have changed. Rumors are not true. Everything that was done was the decision of the girl's father, so there is no point in being offended by her after what happened. Many wish the death of Catherine herself and her brother, so loyalty is best valued. Sweet speeches can serve to gain trust. Edith was already the most colorful flower of society. She hopes that she will win the game that she herself started. Towards the end of the novel, when Langston's coup was suppressed, there were several episodes where Lise and Iberia spent time together. With the help of a friend, the beauty organized her own tea party. Over the course of the novel, she has grown as a character and has become a leader who knows how to communicate with other people. Most likely, the blonde was simply following her path. Choi liked that she was a princess who wanted to protect her country. I don't want to bring up the words I heard from the nobles again, but Edith trusts Her Highness's wise judgment. The woman returned home, but screwed up again. You need to stop losing confidence just because you are different from others. The beauty is simply going to work in her office, so she heads to Renan. She is grabbed by the hand in one of the corridors. Sophia gives one last chance to steal papers from the Duke's office. If the girl betrays her again, she will simply be killed. I can't believe that the heroine can't die. Dullness was transmitted through the air to all the inhabitants of the house. There is no other way to explain it. The master gave permission to kill his daughter. She gasps as her arms tighten around her neck. Letting go of the body, the lady again reminds about the last chance. If she is caught, she will have to pretend that her death was at the hands of Ludwig. The red-haired woman has the right to solve all crimes, but has not yet done so, although she could have used it a very long time ago. Everyone will turn away from the maiden as soon as they find out that she was a spy for the Count. Killian will be first in line. The lady hasn't thought about it until now, but she doesn't know if she would have been able to tell the truth if not for the restriction. The man could go to his girlfriend. Riegelhoff can squeeze something useful out of something useless, but there's no need to explain what terrible things would have happened in that house. If a beauty steals papers, they will put in a good word for her. Even such a stupid person can easily cope with the task. Sophia doesn't know, but if you think about it, the Riegelhoff family will end sooner or later anyway. Entering the office, the girl asks for forgiveness for being late, even if it was not for an hour. The guy doesn't pay attention to anything, saying that we can get to work, because a lot of documents have accumulated. There was no need to worry about the Baron, because now the maiden can work at her own pace exactly the same as usual. The familiar smell of paper and pleasant air are mesmerizing. The sound of the pen and simple silence bring comfort. No one is looking over your shoulder during this work. A girl doesn't need to guess what everyone else expects from her. After finishing work with the papers, the maiden hands them over to Filch, who praises her. He kept wondering how she managed to work like this. According to the beauty, this is a simple task, but if this were true, the man would not have to fire many people. The girl helps a lot, without even knowing it. The documents are always written out very neatly, which helps a lot. The guy doesn't even have anything to complain about, because he understands that everything was done exactly as it should be. The girl can't hold it in anymore, so she starts crying. She tries to apologize for her tears. She is ashamed, so she has to hide behind her palms. You shouldn't control your emotions, as if you might be punished for them. If you hide everything inside, one day they can all come out, leaving no more chance to change anything. Renan asks to go take a break. The work is not urgent, so there is time to relax a little and be calm. With characters who have little influence on the development of the plot, the lady feels much less pressure. This is how the girl decided that she needed to make friends with nameless heroes. She strikes up a conversation with the maids. By doing this, the mistress will be able to correct the situation that has developed with the servants. No one will turn away from her. If something happens or comes to light, the lady will at least not be completely alone, which is a plus. As the beauty thought, Killian went to Lisa again, but then found himself in his wife's room, asking why she went straight to her room after work. It seems that the couple's last meeting disappointed Edith, so now she's trying to avoid a repeat that will ruin everything. The girl, as usual, pretends to be innocent, but then ends up trying to seduce the boy who doesn't want it. If you look at it from Killian's point of view, the behavior can be regarded as depraved. The girl is trying to distract attention from her lies with temptation. It seems the man has had too much, because now his tongue is slurred, and he doesn't even know how to tell the truth. That day, the lady did not intend to seduce anyone, because the boy simply misunderstood everything. The girl did not put on something open, but simply what she had. Even so, the lady tried to tease the young man, but the result did not please her, so she switched to quick production. The girl denies that she has found anyone, but she has always been an open topic for discussion among the aristocrats. Even though the Duke refused to believe the rumors, they still reached him. Men often talked about Riegelhoff. Seduction is not difficult, because if anything happens, everyone runs as soon as the beauty beckons with her hand. Killian knows nothing about Edith, because the girl was far from stupid, as everyone around her thought she was all this time. She was not as insidious as men thought she was, because her character was completely different. The girl turned out to be a connoisseur of art. It was easy to please the heroine with prepared food from the Duke's chefs or something pleasant. In tense moments, Ludwig became calm. She found an appropriate response to any rudeness. No matter how hopeless the situation was, she always looked for a rational way out. Perhaps the words about the Sinclairs were true. It's strange that as soon as something happens, the family immediately blames it all on Edith. The Duke's sons are so bad at investigating that they themselves are lost. The smart and proud girl pretended that she was not in pain at all, but in reality she was not. She never showed her weakness, never had to ask for help. She never spoke about the difficulties, pretending that she liked Renan more. It all started from the moment they were together. It seems the lady didn't like the knight so much. Filch behaves like a dignified gentleman. The woman took advantage of this like a fox, and that's exactly what the hero himself thought. Thoughts no longer spin in his head, because the man does not hide the fact that he knows nothing about his wife. There are a lot of bruises on my back that show everything. The wounds cannot be obtained by accident, and the color shows that they were not received a day or two ago. The servants would not remain silent about something like this, so even without an answer, the young man understood everything. The young man asks for forgiveness for losing his temper while getting dressed again. Virgo is not against continuing, but her husband will not take advantage of the opportunity. Only animals would be the ones to attack a man with bruises, but the guy decided to restrain himself and solve the problem with Sophia. The next morning, the lady felt something sticky. Of course, it turned out to be ointment. The only people who knew were the maid and Killian, which meant that while his wife was sleeping, he applied the ointment to her. The door to the room swings open. It's still very early, but the matter cannot tolerate delay. Sophia is thrown to the floor, but she screams that the count put her in charge of her mistress, and not to mutilate her body, as they say. The maid was not able to fulfill her duties, so she has no right to be around. The maid says that she has been with the girl since childhood, but it is strange that not only did she not report the bruises, but she did not even cure them. When a man thinks about wounds, only the brunette herself comes to mind. He understood all this just by looking at the woman's back. The girl believes that the mistress's abrasions are insignificant. Ludwig immediately offers to put several of the same on the body of the servant. Knowing that the couple was married, the lady put bruises in the places where the clothes were. Now the count asks to return Sophia in good condition. The man wants to kick the beauty out, but first of all he needs his wife's opinion, because without it he won't do anything. Of course, the lady agreed. Everyone has left, so Anna asks the girl to take off her clothes so she can examine all the wounds on her back. The woman's face shows horror almost immediately. It's strange that the beauty didn't say anything immediately after what happened. The author, sitting behind the screen, reads that if he does not fulfill the conditions of the second stage, he will be punished. He had never worried about this before. Most Ediths are glad that they were reborn, glad that they became good and continue to act the same way. The characters try not to follow the path of the villain and be good. They try to win love and make everything better. After documents are leaked, everyone usually loses their composure instead of calmly and clearly explaining that it is not her fault. The new Edith has captured the affections of minor characters, whom the author cannot control. The girl knows that heroes who haven't been mentioned as much aren't as influenced as everyone else. It cannot be said that the lady is deliberately being nice to others, since they are beneficial to her, but still, yes. As soon as the author thinks she has won, she immediately changes tactics to fulfill the conditions of the first stage. For some reason, in the first stage, the development was influenced by the main character himself, who in theory should not have even been involved in this. For now, everything is under control, and even better, because it will help highlight the main character. She became the ingredient for the perfect scene. All that remains is to set a new condition, which may be more difficult to fulfill than everything that was before. The brothers are fighting again. Killian simply let the girl go, even if she might have been behind the poisoning. The maid was sent home. The man decided that it was better to get rid of the one who started the fight in the castle from the very beginning, before it got worse. From the very beginning, the Duke himself and his son gave permission for Sophia to stay and work, but everything changed quite quickly. Even Sinclair agreed to close the investigation. It doesn't matter who is behind this, because it is clear that someone strongly dislikes her. The brunette is glad that his girlfriend supports him. If it had been known that Edith was the Count's unloved daughter, then everything would have ended. In such a case, marriage between families with strained relations would be in jeopardy. That is why the lady remained silent. Thoughts are immediately transferred to the other side, because perhaps the beauty was keeping attention for herself. I can't believe that Killian ignores the sick Lise, only to dwell in his thoughts about his beautiful wife who remains in his estate. Cliff already wants to start getting angry, but the beauty asks him to calm down, because he didn't do anything terrible. There is no need to start revealing the bad sides. The man asks for forgiveness, because he is confused in his thoughts. The blonde is sure that she could not cope with so much attention directly to her person. The girl asks to take care of Edith. She had a hard time after the poisoning. Sinclair was visited by friends, but her friend endured everything alone. There is only one request, and it is to spend as much time as possible with the woman. Something like this should help. Her own maid beat the mistress, and then Riegelhoff sent a carriage for Sophia to return her to the estate. It's hard to hold back, but Killian didn't throw the girl out, instead obeying and sending her back to his home. In fact, the girl realized that she was exposed as a more important person than a servant, but according to the laws of the original, it was impossible to simply throw a person away like that. There are still events with the participation of the beauty herself. We need to be much more vigilant. There is no point in completely relying on your husband. Now the woman is seen as someone who tried to seduce a guy into helping her in a terrible situation. The girl must make the boy think differently about her. The next day, the hero suggested drinking tea together, so the beauty agreed. The next day after the proposal to have lunch together, the girl turned up. The Duke feels uncomfortable around her. Since Lise was sent away, my father has really been strange, so it's best not to get into trouble and not spoil everything. The next day, the guy once again asked the beauty to join him for a walk, but she again refused. The brunette begins to think that his wife is uncomfortable with him because it seems that somewhere a mistake was made that is now interfering. Everything is done not only at the request of the sister, because perhaps the red-haired one is not as terrible as the rumors say about her. As soon as it seemed that the hero had figured out the woman's motives, she found something new, unknown. The hero thought that it would be better to find out about everything left alone, but he could not imagine that it would be so difficult. Invitations are not made on time. Even if you invite her to lunch this time, most likely the girl will simply refuse again. Coming out, the beauty freezes, because she thought that her husband had gone for a walk. He says they brought strawberry desserts. Those same cakes, Edith wanted to try for a long time, but she says that she has gained a little weight, so she has to refuse again. When the lady leaves, she leaves the Duke alone. She will not fall for food, no matter how much she is tested. 3 days later, a new conversation about Ludwig took place in Lisa's room. It seems that my friend is disappointed in the brunette. Virgo exaggerated when she said that the man did not disappoint her for a moment, but she was just trying to say that everything was fine with them. In a way, the red-haired girl is grateful because she is being taken care of. It is strange that she continues to push the young man further away. The story was not from Killian, because most likely, the maids did an excellent job of spreading rumors. In fact, it's a pity for the man, because for the sake of the dukedom, he had to give up his desires. Arranged marriages are common. There's nothing strange about a guy being next to a girl he hates, no matter what Sinclair says. Choi doesn't want anyone to spend time with her because of duty. She doesn't know if an acquaintance is trying to test her, or if there's something else going on here. From time to time, the young man came into the room and offered various entertainments that they could do together. Literally the day before the conversation, the brunette came to Renan's office and spent the whole day watching the girl just work. Evening came again when the husband came to say that he knew about the woman's free evening. She just wanted to eat and sleep. The best option would be to go to the opera, but it would be even better to choose the company of Lise, who is feeling better. The girl nods, saying that she doesn't care at all about what's happening in front of her nose. The words make the husband angry. If everything is part of the test, then the beauty should not say anything wrong to avoid failure. A couple is in a marriage of convenience, where their union exists only in documents. It's just a duty as a member of the ducal family. Killian himself believes that he was put in shackles that dashed his last hopes of being married to the person he loved. Edith wants to receive love from a person who does not belong to her. She's like a snake hiding. The beauty does not know how to envy. You can almost forget about what was said, but not everything is as simple as it seems. A woman doesn't care about a man who isn't even pleasant. Now you can expose your personality as a jealous and annoying husband. Surely Riegelhoff wants to spend time with someone else, since he so zealously refuses everything offered. Perhaps the first in line will be Renan, who is usually the best and most understanding. People talk about him right away. It's not like Killian is still faking it, because his expression says it all, screaming frustration. The virgin reaches out with her hand to her face, but is stopped. Since he is a husband only on paper, it means that you just need to play the role of a thoroughbred stallion. The young man asks for forgiveness for his slowness, and without giving even a second to think, kisses the beauty on the lips. There was a misunderstanding, but it was too late. Choi sees a screen in front of him with the completed task of the second stage. Because of all this, the author's influence diminished. The conditions turned out to be simply ridiculous, because the brunette had to refuse her husband literally 10 times. If the lady had not come to her senses in time, would not have fulfilled the condition, and then she would never have known what would happen next. The author turned out to be so stupid that he is now shouting that he did not want what was happening. Edith did it too quickly. The man does not understand how he managed to receive an invitation from the person he likes as many as 10 times, even after numerous refusals. This time, Lise said something strange, which angered the writer even more. She didn't want anyone to spend time with her out of a sense of duty. I can't believe that a person could say something so stupid. He was wrong, and Sinclair really has no feelings. Previously, no one could fulfill both conditions, but now the influence of the author even over the main characters has decreased. If the lady completes the last task, the plot of the novel will develop according to the wishes of the heroes. Then the original story will come to an end. The ending will be completely different from what it should be, and then Sweet Lise will not get the happy ending she deserves. The young man is not going to give up his plan, so he sets an unacceptable condition that he plans to use. A couple is lying in bed. The girl runs her fingers over her stomach because she really likes the muscles. The hero somehow learned to leave gentle touches on the skin and kisses that take your breath away. Edith said earlier that she doesn't want a man to just become a stud, and that's true. This doesn't have any effect. It seems that the guy cares what people think about him, and this is not pity. This is definitely not love either, but the young man would not go that far. The only thing that remains is carnal desires, or simple loneliness that could not be overcome. The girl is well acquainted with the boy's story, and knows, like no one else, that he tried to defeat his brother. He never succeeded. Cliff is the main male character, so he has everything. He is the heir to the title, so attention and expectations were placed on him. Of course, it felt like no one even cared about the man's little brother, which is why he felt this way. The beloved girl also sees only her brother, who seems to be blocking the sun, casting a shadow. Apparently, the young man realized that in the new world, Riegelhoff was faced with approximately the same thing as he was: loneliness. It is the girl who understands better than anyone what it's like to be alone and not receive due attention. Choi Soo-na was exactly the same. The girl wants her husband to start believing her, so she carefully asks about what he can do for what she needs. First of all, the couple went to the theater. The red-haired girl with huge eyes admires everything she sees around her. The lady really came to such a place for the first time. She had never been to a major opera house in the capital, no matter how strange it may sound. Judging by Riegelhoff's memoirs, she knew about opera, but art, music, and even books were inaccessible to her because of her father. The whole problem really was only the fear that the daughter would know more than she should, which cannot be allowed. The name of the tragedy is Odelette. This is a story about the Viscount's daughter, who went for raspberries and found the wounded Laszlo there. The compassionate maiden helps him, and it turns out that the man has lost his memory, so he decides to stay with the girl until the wounds heal. In fact, this man turned out to be a prince from a neighboring country who had fled the internecine war that had overtaken him. Soon the two fall in love. The Viscount, after deliberation, for the sake of the well-being of the family, forces his daughter to marry Hubert. The girl simply has no choice, so she obeys what her father tells her, realizing that it is better this way. Laszlo persuades Odeletta to run away with him for the sake of love. Baron Hubert, having learned that the lady loves another, decides to seduce her with wealth. The heroine does not know what to do because she is tossing between love and duty, as well as family, which is the most important. Laszlo must forgive the beauty, because in the end she cannot be with him. He could never understand anything. For half the opera, the red-haired girl simply cried. The performance was wonderful that the lady regretted not going earlier. The man asks about the lady's opinion. If she were in Odelette's place, she would have to make a choice. The girl would have chosen Hubert and not killed herself. Laszlo is a terrible person, because he knew about the girl's situation and still continued to hide his identity. The well-being of her family depended on who Odelette married. Killian himself understands everything perfectly. In the opera, Hubert is portrayed as a bad person, but in reality he is sincere in his love. He promised to give everything needed. In fact, the heroine does not believe the ending of the opera, even though it was emotional to the point of tears. When a woman sees a prince marry a princess, her heart breaks and she commits suicide. This is a stupid thing to do and is unlikely to happen. If Edith were in the place of the main character, she and her man would live happily ever after without a third wheel. We must not forget about time, because even the heart can change its mind. People are much stronger than they seem. The young man thinks that they are trying to deceive him again with sweet speeches, but in fact, his wife is just a strong person. The brunette suggests going for a walk in the garden if the girl is still not tired. Surely the young man often walked like this with others, so now the beauty feels a little awkward. Passing by someone who sells flowers, the heroine moves away, asking her companion to wait next to her. The lady is going to buy flowers, but the husband is the first to hand over the money, intending to pick up the bouquet that is in the bucket. The gentleman once again behaved with dignity. He did not stand aside, realizing that he needed to act. If the guy had not stopped the lady, she would have become the only aristocrat who buys her own flowers when her husband is around. Surely the maiden had never received such a limp bouquet. They had to be bought in the morning to make everything look better. Choi's parents weren't the type of people to waste money on useless bouquets. There was no point even talking about the ex-boyfriend. The girl is sure that the real Riegelhoff had many flower bouquets, but they did not reach her. The girl did not think that her soul would be touched by what was given to her by pure chance. This beauty is the first in both realities. Smiling, the red-haired girl changes the topic so that they can go look at what they are selling next in the store. Right on one of the streets, a clown attacks the beauty and tries to cheer her up. Laughing, the brunette asks to let his wife go. In fact, everything around was created for the main character. Beautiful streets, squares, and landmarks were created for the heroes. For some reason, the couple is enjoying a walk in the city. Perhaps this is because we were able to complete the tasks from the second stage. If Killian's attitude has changed due to the restrictions of the original plot being lifted, then it will be easier to fulfill the conditions from stage 3 too. The girl wants them to love each other, sometimes be sad, rejoice, and find their happiness. Because the lady was interested in art, the man thought that the lady would be bored since she had to go out countless times with others. The young man could not imagine that the girl would cry from watching a primitive play. I couldn't believe that Edith had never received flowers in her life. It's like an unreal thing that happened. The guy seemed happy to hear that everything happened for the first time. He is pulled out of his thoughts by Lisa's voice in the distance of the corridor. Lately, the man had been spending all his time on Riegelhof, not Sinclair. She wanted something, but says it's quite late. The blonde just wanted to say that someone saw the beauty apply poison to the embroidery threads before handing over the gift. The witness was one of the maids who suddenly disappeared, even though Cliff had been looking for her all day. It's strange that the brother didn't say anything, and the woman disappeared just now. Lise hopes that this is not true. It seems that everything is the work of that insidious woman who remains the same as before. She doesn't think she's doing the wrong thing. It seemed that the brunette heard some strange voice. He doesn't understand whether it was a hallucination or not. Edith has no reason to poison her friend. There is no logic, even if the Count ordered his daughter to do bad things to Sinclair. Obviously, it makes no sense for a man to kill Lisa, who has no power, instead of any other member of the Ludwig family. There are smaller reasons to envy the beauty, but this is not the most important thing after the words that the girl said. Most likely, someone told the maid to tell a lie in order to blame everything on an innocent person again. The real culprit can easily be approached by someone in the family. It's worth interviewing the entire staff. The blonde objects, because she doesn't want everything to turn into a scandal. Don't worry, because what you started will end as it should. Cliff shouldn't talk about the request, but still he won't keep anything secret from his love. It's time for the guy to come back. Lise wanted to say something, but fell silent, saying that it was no longer important at all. It's been 3 days since the opera, and Killian promises to be with the lady every day without exception. He found something he needed again. The man had previously said that he had a lot of work to do, but even on that busy day he came again, this time with peridot brownies. The wife was a little late, because her husband had already returned from work with successfully completed tasks. Frowning, the red-haired girl asks to put the jokes aside. She wants to know why they suddenly began to treat her properly. Everyone understands that the young man was rude before. He made a lot of mistakes, and now wants to fix everything as quickly as possible. Now Ludwig knows that he wants to find out as much as possible about the woman who has become dear to him. The girl is still the main suspect in all the incidents, but it seems that Edith herself is not to blame. The man who didn't even want to touch Riegelhof now wants to really get to know his wife. He changed his mind. Most of all, Killian hopes that he is not mistaken and that it was not the woman herself who caused the trouble. She can only thank her. In order to learn as much as possible about a person, you need to spend more time with him. I would like to know all the details. The young man does not want to lose sight of something by pure chance. He will treasure the moments together. You don't have to act this way to recognize someone, but Choi herself doesn't mind. Logic almost kills. In the end, the girl was not only much more comfortable than she seemed, but everything also happened very naturally. One day, the guy asked if his wife was watching the training, but she immediately changed the topic to roses in the garden. The virgin began to gradually get used to the company of her husband, who gave her great pleasure. Due to arguments, sometimes the couple went too far, but just like this time, Killian always asked for forgiveness. Lise, watching the couple, notices that they look great. Now everything looks like a real marriage. After her friend's words, the lady wants to run away, but it seems that the man doesn't even feel embarrassed at all, because he doesn't care. The blonde made strawberry tea that everyone should like. Even the aroma itself is mesmerizing. The strawberries themselves are too sour for the girl, but she likes the ones that are sweet and aromatic. The lady's perfume smells like roses for one reason only. Something hits my head. For some reason, it begins to seem that the hero is trying to evoke some kind of stupid jealousy inside Lise, which in itself is not even worth it. The girl decides to check something. Since the husband thinks the perfume is not very bad, it means that it is not good enough. Killian's relationship with his wife has improved. The girl has long wanted to tell her brother not to try too hard, but Cliff talks about it. It is strange that the prince, who in the original novel did not allow the guy to approach Sinclair, suddenly changed his tactics. The blonde goes deep into memories of how they all spent time together. This was before Riegelhoff came along. Edith was a little lost in thought, so she didn't even listen to the conversations that were going on at the table. She asks for forgiveness. Turning away, the girl says that everyone can pretend that they didn't hear anything. The guy will find time to go with his girlfriend. You can have a good time on that street even with Edith. Cliff interjects. It will be difficult for 3 of us to go because the whole family is going to the Imperial Palace. Instead of interfering with the two's date, the brunette does the opposite, saying that they must go without anyone in the company. Killian and Lisa did choose shoes, but this episode should have happened after Cliff was cast as the lead. The guy is acting strange. There was too much coming at them both at once, which was hard to deal with over and over again. Stopping, the couple sees Damien, who came out of nowhere. He greets both, looking sly. The guy asks to go inside while he figures it out. There's no point in staying around the Sinclairs, who are already weird. They say that the Count wants to take away the rights to extract ore from the mine. The rights to this belong to Riegelhoff. If there is no main reason to stay inside, then it will be the end. Getting up from his seat, the hero says, "This time I have to learn despite everything a little earlier, and given this, it's normal. There are no problems." Lowering her head, the red-haired girl silently listens to what is happening literally a meter away from her. She still behaves in the same extremely strange way. Bowing, the young man says that he really likes the perfume that the beauty wore. He didn't want to slow down with his answer. On Darius Street, where the heroine headed early in the morning, she had a hard time. Anna asked a strange question related to the gentleman. The girl heard that the man had gone for a walk with Lise, so, of course, she asked her mother about everything that was happening. Despite the various shops on Rue La Belle Marie, the street is primarily famous as a date spot. It seemed to the maid that the couple had become much closer recently. She didn't know exactly how to talk about her experiences. The female worker, who was always calm, no matter what happened, began to put the woman's well-being above Killian's opinion. Virgo assures that she is in perfect order. If every day is as wonderful as it was then, there will be no point in complaining. The beauty is selling dresses that she managed not to wear. She doesn't want to wear something that will ruin the reputation of the ducal family. Count Riegelhoff carefully selected clothes for Edith in which she would be the center of attention. Such delights are perfect for the heroine herself. Few people suit dresses with a similar silhouette, so the woman apologizes for not being able to buy them at a high price. The emerald necklace and diamond earrings that the lady took out of her box, she has already sold for even more. She needs money so she can escape at any time. No matter how kindly the girl is treated, and no matter how good she feels, you should agree to have a good time. You can't rely on anyone. The beauty went through the good and the bad like it was no big deal. Memories of childhood again pop up in my head, when at some moments I wanted to literally scream in despair. They simply wanted the woman to die, although she didn't even do anything. Sometimes the people closest to you hurt the most. The only person a beauty can rely on is herself. She promises that no one else is needed only when everything is real. Anna worked as a maid for more than 10 years. She had all the qualities that a girl in a noble family should have. The heroine did not eavesdrop on the conversations of the head of the family and did not spy on its members. She did her job better than anyone. Working quietly, the brunette, like a shadow that no one noticed, walked from side to side as she needed. It was as if the woman did not have a mind to think about those around her, or a heart to feel emotions. When the woman was assigned to Edith, she was surprised. The girl was involved in many strange rumors, which were not the most rosy. Edith even has a relationship with her husband, with whom she is in a marriage of convenience, as if this also means nothing. Anna remembered when Lise first arrived at the estate. This day is clearly remembered. She didn't feel anything special when she saw the smiling child, despite the fact that she was wearing rags. The girl who became a maid at 12 knew what grief was, but the blonde didn't grieve anymore. There was no point in feeling sorry for her. For some reason, the attitude towards Riegelhoff was completely different. There was something special about her, or rather, attractive. The woman was always interested in Anna's opinion and listened to her answers because she did not want to make a mistake in any way. The way the lady behaved seemed so natural that it was already becoming a reality. The girl was very used to what was happening. The heroine just wants her friend to be truly happy. There are already too many bad things. As soon as the couple arrived back at the estate, the lady was stopped by her husband, who learned that she had sold her dresses and jewelry. The woman only sold the excess, but if a married aristocrat starts selling her things, those around her may come up with who knows what. Now, looking from the other side, the girl understands that no matter how hard she tries to be lower than the grass, she remains the daughter-in-law of the Duke. Every minor movement on the part of the beauty will inevitably be noticed by all the people, and this cannot be changed in any way. The heroine asks for forgiveness. She has no personal funds other than her dowry, so she had to go to extreme measures to earn money. The man is outraged that his wife is spending her monthly salary in God knows where. There must be a sum that a family's reputation is worth. An hour passed after the meeting, and the lady was almost late for the palace to meet the emperor. She almost made it. The young man did not know that Edith was not being paid, so he was more surprised than before. He himself did not explain why he was not with Lisa. Killian is always in a hurry, but never explains anything. The girl always behaved rather primitively. It seems that a belief has appeared in the beauty's head that the Duke will not be able to protect his wife in a bad situation. There are some things a lady cannot talk about because they are difficult. She regrets that she once made the wrong choices. The hero promises that he will buy back everything that Regelhof sold, just so that now rumors do not begin to creep even faster. The girl does not need things, but then it is not clear why they were needed as a dowry. The conversation reached a dead end. The young man promised money, but it's better to forget about it for now, because the beauty's first job is with Cliff. The man is the first to start the conversation, saying that when they look at him so closely, he starts to get a little nervous. Even though they are a family, they spend little time together. The girl became closer to Killian, but to no one else, because apparently she was afraid. A polite smile does not help, because the brunette believes that her brother's interest may quickly disappear. It is useless to compare how much time the young man spent in the company of Lise. The words sound like the beginning of a quarrel that may happen. Cliff hopes that Killian will continue to show interest, since they both have the same desires. The man's intentions are as clear as a lake. Edith needs the Duke, and the guy needs Sinclair. This way they will be happy. The couple will win if they do not stare at each other. For this you need to do something. It seems the young man misunderstood everything. A woman, although a wife, is not going to chain her husband to her. It sounds nice, but too fake. If Ludwig started acting like before, the red-haired girl wouldn't be able to say the same words out loud. As soon as it gets warmer, the young man goes swimming on the lake. Mother always said that summer begins when its sail is visible. When Lise joined the family, he often went out on the water with her, but now he can do this with his wife. It is also worth praising everything he does, since the man is interested in art. The woman has an interesting reaction, but she just doesn't want to hear the nonsense that the heir is talking about. No matter how fierce the battle for the heart of the main character is, they, like brothers, must show at least a drop of love. Unfortunately, none of them decided to interact in any way, so there was no choice left. Both Edith and Killian can win if they stay together. The brunette asks to think about the future, at least once again. About to head forward, the hero asks about the maid Sabina. It would be better if the beauty knew about her, but nothing could change. The couple had a good conversation, but then the girl will have to spend time alone with the princess. Edith was forced to change into clothes that were comfortable for riding. She enters the stable and greets Her Majesty. The girl heard that the student had never ridden a horse, but what was striking was that the trousers did not cause her discomfort. The body is comfortable, but the nerves are not very comfortable. Katrin unties the horse and asks him to walk right behind her. The redhead tries to adhere to the instructions as she holds onto the horse with her knees while riding it. For some reason, it began to seem that this method was like revenge for the way the girl behaved in the last meeting, which took place recently. Noticing her companion's gaze, Katrin still gives in, saying that Killian himself asked her for this lesson. The man would never joke in such a tone, so he asked in all seriousness to teach a dance lesson from everyone else. The place where the young man wants to move is not as lively as the capital. An aristocrat's wife can ride in a carriage, but in case of snowfall, she will need a horse. The Duke could have taken up teaching himself long ago, but he does not have the attentiveness necessary for teaching. The girl became the only person to whom the young man managed to entrust his wife's education. Of course, but Her Majesty understood everything, but she wonders why this is necessary, just like before. Until now, not a single question remained a secret from Ludwig Sr. and from Cliff, who were always ready to help. The marriage was inevitable, because the family needed an alliance with the Regelhof family. After resolving the situation, you can get rid of your temporary wife. It is obvious that someone in the family told the princess that Edith would only be temporary, but it seems that this was not true. Catherine is disappointing because she's not one to listen to the gossip of aristocrats and the like. The woman recently bore the surname Riegelhoff, so her crimes cannot be just rumors. She is still connected to her father. It's hard to believe, but the girl has nothing to do with her dad, who has the wind in his head. There is no point in going into details. The situation seems more and more like a farce, because now the blonde is watching the beauty's behavior live. Killian was right after all. It was funny to call into the palace someone who was considered a snake and suddenly put her on a horse. The woman asks for forgiveness because she thought that the guy had been fooled. It is impossible to believe that something offensive was actually said about the girl. The princess, like no one else, should not have succumbed to public opinion and gossip. Although it will be blatant, the lady hopes that her apology will still be accepted, at least sooner or later. They said that the man was much softer than he seemed, and this turned out to be true, just like with Edith. Walking down the street, the blonde points to a store she would like to visit. The store has already closed. They left later than planned, but were supposed to make it before closing, but nothing worked out. It all happened because Killian went to Renan at the last moment to sort out problems with his wife. The girl should have been warned in advance if she wanted to buy something special. She remembers how they chose shoes together. Putting the shoe on his foot, the hero says that in such beautiful shoes, the beauty will be sent to the ball. The girl was more wonderful than anyone from the very beginning. She is a person with a kind, big heart. The boy couldn't have asked for more than a look and a smile. Because it was the first time I felt something like this, I thought it was love. Everything would have been the same as before, only if a wife had not settled in her head and did not want to leave. The man turned to the master of his craft. He needs 4 pairs of winter shoes, but the most important thing is timing. The young man would like the boots to be to his wife's taste, but, be that as it may, 2 months is not that long. Sooner or later, Cliff will inherit the title, so Killian will have to leave the estate. This will be done together with Edith. The girl doesn't say why she's asking, but her face shows an expression as if she's upset. This news is sudden. Riegelhoff, one of the beauty's few friends, who is her age, and it would be sad to lose what she has already gained. As a child, the girl could not make friends because of the Count. She was always protected by knights in a new place and did not meet new friends. The gentleman quickly left the shop. They are expected in 2 months, when the time comes to pick up the order. The atmosphere on Darcy Street when he and Edith were walking was completely different, which felt somehow strange. The street with candy sellers and a girl selling wild flowers has turned into something else. Lise grabs the guy's hand. When he said he was going to leave, she felt very strange. The couple went into another store that was not closed. The seller gives the hairpin to the girl for whom it suits best. The man asks to give an invoice for everything the young lady liked and send it to the Ludwig estate. The hairpin suits a girl. If everything has already been examined, then the couple can go look at the store that the young man himself liked. The place they came to had a completely different atmosphere. The hero wants to buy a gift for Edith. The man used to think that his wife liked things with more luxurious decorations, but it turned out that this was completely wrong. The girl prefers more modest jewelry. He can't go wrong if he chooses something elegant. The hero often sees that pendant on a woman, so he plans to choose something similar to it. Cliff, walking past the door, stopped when he heard the voice of a girl thanking her husband. The heroine likes everything that was given to her. The brunette's eye has been trained since childhood, so he distinguishes beauty. The hero asks to turn around for a second and then ties a scarf in his hair to match it. If the red-haired girl had chosen a gift on her own, she definitely would not have been able to find something so wonderful. The man first went to his beloved's chambers. He heard that they returned earlier because she felt ill. It seems that on the new day, Killian again tried to win over him even more with gifts. This is not true because the young man is too faithful. There was no point in bothering him, just like there was no point in thinking about it. The hero begs that he become the only one for Lise, and she becomes exactly the same for him. The woman is disappointed in Killian, so it's worth thinking about what to do in the future and with whom exactly. The blonde wonders what Cliff was doing, because even walking around the city, she was only thinking about him. In the carriage, on the way to the castle, the guy had a conversation with Edith. They said that brother would go on the water very soon. The girl begs Cliff to look only at her, because he is so wonderful that he cannot belong to anyone else. A few days later, the heroine finally decided to mention the boat. She did not see her husband swimming on the lake. If you go out on the water on a nice day, you can have a pretty good time and enjoy it. In her past life, the beauty didn't even ride on a catamaran. This is reminiscent of that very first bouquet. As soon as it gets warmer, a man usually goes out on the water, but he didn't do that last season, and that's what I remember. Sailing on a regular boat is dangerous because it can easily capsize, which can lead to an accident. The man has a yacht, so there is no point in worrying about something accidentally happening when everything remains just as great. Anna is going to tell Samuel to get the yacht ready for sailing on the lake. They will go on the water tomorrow. From the very morning, Edith got ready, as if she was heading to the palace. She met a friend who asked where she was going. The girl reveals all her cards. The blonde also advises going fishing, as it will be quite interesting. The heroine seems to be interested in the side character, but says she's happy for both of them. Killian arrives just in time. He apologizes for the delay and suggests moving forward before it's too late. Everything began to feel completely different when the couple got to the lake. The girl cannot contain her surprise and delight. Taking the girl away from the railing, the husband asks her not to stretch so hard that she might accidentally fall overboard. The moments when their gazes intersect make the red-haired girl hold her breath. Pulling out her lips and closing her eyes, the lady asks not to spoil the atmosphere, and finally to kiss her before she gets tired of it. The day was wonderful, so Riegelhoff could not imagine that something terrible would happen very soon. It all started with the girl discussing what exactly she could wear to look wonderful. The man thought that any outfit would be great, but it was better to take a hat with him to protect himself from the sun. Food for a snack on a yacht can also be prepared with the help of maids. This is all at the discretion of the girl herself. Everything was too perfect. It seemed like it was a good dream that would never end. Samuel said that he had checked the yacht, so he was confident that everything would be fine. He is confident that the day will go well. The man felt uneasy when he heard that the lady was already boating, because he wanted to be the first. The girl said earlier that she had never had such a date, so the Duke was only happy. The young man is going to anchor the yacht before they go to dinner, but for some reason the sail is not going to obey. Due to the sharp turn, Edith, along with all her food, flies down without having time to grab onto anything. Falling into the water, the body sinks deeper because the dress is too heavy. The water turned out to be cold, like ice. The plot is known, and therefore Choi Soo-na will die at the hands of her husband. She has no right to drown in a dark lake. The lady does not know that she can die, nor does she see a screen saying that there are 3 minutes left before death. I can't believe that the original plot is trying its best to be restored, even if it's not the best idea. The lady wakes up. In the end, she didn't die, so she saw Anna crying next to her. From the very beginning, it was clear that the author was hostile because he put forward conditions that were impossible to fulfill. The plot itself became more of a hindrance than the writer himself. Riegelhoff's actions have always been limited, so now the beauty's life may be threatened by an action that the original did not have. After the lady fell into the water, she woke up in the same place, coughing because the liquid got everywhere. Part of the plot was distorted due to interference, so the author's power was reduced. Now the restrictions apply to everyone. The girl asks where Killian is, and it turns out that he is interrogating Mr. Samuel. He's most likely innocent. It was that man who was preparing the yacht. The whole family turns to the man for help as the best boatman on their lake. The red-haired woman does not believe that what happened was not an accident. The next attempt was made in advance. Anna burst into tears more than ever. She believes that Mr. could not have done anything like that, and they are simply slandering him. Because of the author's whims, others should not suffer, so the beauty asks the maid to call her husband to her room. The moment Riegelhoff fell overboard, the man's heart seemed to freeze. He saw how she was plunging into the abyss before his eyes, so he quickly jumped after her. Ludwig even forgot how he swam, but in the end he pulled the girl out on his own. He almost cried, shouting that she would survive. I should have said more nice words while I had the opportunity. Virgo deserved better. The young man remembers in detail how things were between them before, and mentally asks for forgiveness for all the understatements. Now the man is standing next to the boatman. He worked for the family for 10 years and never failed, but then he decided that the time had come. The lady has finally woken up, so the young man immediately runs as fast as he can back to his wife's chambers. Finding himself next to Edith in a matter of seconds, the brunette immediately reaches out to hug her tight. Killian is pale because he was worried. He thought that Choi would die without even leaving a single trace behind him. The yacht did not have a sail attached. This would not have happened with a ship that had been prepared, so Samuel is still being questioned. The man seems innocent. People are capable of many things, but this person seems a little different. The lady came to the conclusion that since the author was punished, it means that it was his doing. Nothing can be changed. The writer tried to eliminate Edith through the hands of someone from the novel, but who exactly is not clear. Anna and Renan don't fit the description. Power over them is blocked. If he could be controlled, their relationship would be strained. The lady would break if she were let down. The original himself tied up the boy, who decided that everything was allowed to him, since he was the creator. The character who did something must be one of the most important, and the boatman certainly doesn't fit the description. The girl cannot tell her husband the truth, but still says that Samuel is not to blame, because that's how she feels. The guy is released. There is no evidence of his guilt, so they won't even kick him out, but just give him one day off. Edith believes that a man would not do anything like that on purpose, so she should be grateful for this. It was the man who was responsible for the condition of the yacht, so after this incident, he cannot be left unpunished. You cannot punish the extreme instead of the one who is the real criminal, and even the woman herself, who always opposes what is happening, understands this. It is strange to compare the situations, but as punishment the maiden was locked in a room, and the boatman was interrogated in the basement as a criminal. The girl goes to rest while the guy does everything she wants. Her pale face still stands before my eyes. It's better to pull yourself together, because the hero needs to find the culprit first. During an accident, the woman is always at risk. Even a light dress will become heavy, so one has to think that this was directed against Edith. This could have been Riegelhoff's revenge for sending back the maid, who ultimately could not mock him any further. It could have been the work of members of the Sinclair family. Past crimes remained unpunished. Something is missing. Samuel, who has something to say, wants to talk to the gentleman. The man swears he has something to say. Even when checked at night, it was in perfect condition. At dawn, shortly before the Duke arrived, the young man took the ship out onto the water and went away for a while with Cliff. The hero says that he needs help in finding something of Mrs. Leese that she lost. If the boatman had not been released, he would have spent several more days in the basement for what happened for leaving the boat unattended. It is worth catching the criminal, because the one who tried to harm Edith is wandering somewhere nearby. Information that could not be extracted through interrogation was obtained through trust. Riegelhoff wouldn't want the old man to be punished, so it's best not to offer something you don't want. The girl would most likely thank the man for his honesty. These mean a lot. It's strange that the future Duke went all the way to the lake early in the morning to find Sinclair's thing. Lise was waiting for her boyfriend near the estate and was just returning from the embankment. During the incident with the threads and the decorated documents, the couple almost always appeared out of nowhere. When the investigation was carried out as it should, it was only an illusion, because both were not questioned properly. We need to find out about who was near the lake in the morning. It would have been worth starting with this yesterday, but the guy didn't think of it. Apparently, the girl's fall overboard frightened the young man, so he treats her to cakes from a spoon, which is completely out of character for him. Last night, Samuel admitted to leaving the boat unattended. He asked to convey his apologies. It was possible to obtain important information only thanks to the favor of the heroine, who tried her best. Even what the brunette said makes you raise your head higher and enjoy the moment. Cliff came into the room with Lise. He chuckles, noticing that he distracted the couple from an important conversation. The brunette asks for forgiveness. He was worried because the beauty suffered precisely because of him. The usual sensitivity was shown because it was the Duke's eldest son who advised the lady to go sailing. In order to provoke events that did not happen in the original, you need a main character. Maybe it was all because of Cliff. The guy was told that his brother was at the lake early in the morning. He was looking for something, so he asked for help. Only those who are in the Ludwig family and directly connected with this could provoke such a turn of events. Sinclair notices how her friend is feeling, so she says that she has become completely pale, as if she feels bad. The doctor advised to remain completely calm, so before this the heroine was forbidden to even visit. The man who has been sitting by the bed since the morning says that the others would bother his wife. Leaving the room, the brunette smiles strangely. He pretends that everything is fine, as if hiding something. The girl says that she is really fine, although this is unrealistic. She almost drowned, and it would be strange to say such things. Reaching out her hand to the young man's cheek, the wife asks if he slept last night, because judging by his facial expression, he did not. Even if this happened again, you shouldn't jump into water to save someone, or at least try. According to the lady, she suggests watching someone drown without making any attempts to do anything. The lady soon recovered. On the very first day, when she went out into the courtyard, all the servants greeted her. The whole reason is that the woman helped Mr. Samuel. He has been working at the estate for a long time and helps everyone around him. Everyone respects this person simply because he exists in this world. Quite recently, Sabina, a maid, disappeared. A few days before her disappearance, she said bad things about the woman and started rumors. Due to the fact that the lady helped the boatman, being on the verge of life and death, all rumors were dispelled because everyone believed her. At tea parties, they had already begun to discuss how Edith almost drowned. The yacht capsized, and they say it was an accident. Apparently, the Duke's family decided to get rid of Riegelhoff. Killian himself could be the one who started this. Layla was cut short because the hero himself jumped into the lake and saved his wife, risking his life. It turns out that the boatman was not punished, although he most likely was to blame for what happened. It seems the family doesn't value their daughter-in-law that much because they didn't even punish the hero of the occasion. According to rumors, everything is worse than it seems. The dislike of Riegelhoff is certainly not just something that is talked about in society. It is unclear who exactly is trying to kill the girl, but it is clear that the Ludwigs are not going to protect their daughter-in-law. The estate is in turmoil. Tailors from the Emperor's atelier were invited to measure dresses for the day the empire was founded. The meeting was planned much earlier than it happened, but they still need time to get everything done. There is only a month left until the founding day. The girl completely forgot about it, constantly disappearing somewhere while writing. The Archduke has been acting strange lately, so he can use his power right in the palace. A man can express disrespect for the authority of the Emperor, thereby showing his hostility. In the original, Langston appears at the founding of the Empire in the second half of the 4th volume. In the novel, Edith was on probation, so she did not attend the celebration. The plot mainly concerns Lise, so the heroine does not even remember what Edith did, because the memory has already dissipated. The girl is going to wear one of the dresses that she already has. For Choi, all the outfits the character has are new. The girl tries to value exactly what she has, so she is constantly silent and tries not to reveal her hostility. Anna is not too happy about this outcome of events, but cannot influence the consciousness of the mistress, who has decided something for herself. The husband suggested that his wife go to the weaving workshop, even if she did not plan to buy anything new. This is the first appearance as new spouses, so the brunette wanted to choose a beautiful paired outfit for both of them. They would not have been accepted without an appointment, but the young man took care and signed up a few days in advance. If Killian had told about what he had planned earlier, he would have received a lot of reproaches about the way he was leading. A man with purple hair named Moffat Dahlia is welcomed by gentlemen into his modest boutique. The concept of obscenity has changed very quickly, which frightens the beauty a little, who is not used to it. The girl is escorted forward and barked at a catalogue. There are a lot of vulgar clothes depicted there, which should, in theory, be liked. The man doesn't prefer this, but he knows his wife likes it. A couple of months ago, the hero noticed a man, and saying that he had a beautiful outfit, asked where he bought it. As far as the young man understood, the boutique was quite famous, so it was better to try to find something worthwhile. A significant choice did not help, and on top of all this, the couple was scared by Moffetto, who jumped out from somewhere behind. The dress finally found its owner. Many have only dreamed of something like this, but it suits the lady very well. Perhaps Killian really had a good eye for realizing that such an outfit would be great. The girl began to get nervous again when she went out into the hall to see her husband. The outfit is a little fussy, but it looks great. The Duke's eldest son could not drag his wife into the workshop just because of rumors. He could negotiate with the Emperor's tailors. Killian just wanted to escape the stage where a great love story was unfolding. Looking at the girl, the man says that she looks incredibly beautiful, just like a princess. The guy shouldn't smile like that because his love left with Cliff. The girl asks Moffetto to make some kind of costume that would suit Killian. It was necessary to select a few more options, but in fact, the wife thinks that the attire is perfect. If the lady is not tired, they can come in and look at the shoes. In this case, she agrees. The gentleman is immediately greeted at the door. He ordered a pair of boots and shoes that would fit. They should be ready. It's colder in Risen than it looks, but that's actually not the worst thing since you already have shoes. While the heroine's leg is being measured, she thinks about what kind of culture is in the country where they are going, and what exactly can be developed there. The novel did not tell in detail about the place they are going to, so the beauty knows nothing. Choi didn't think that in Edith's body she would be able to live to see such a wonderful day when all the attention of a man would be for her. Last time the girl liked tea and strawberries, so they went to a special cafe. The couple wants to continue talking, but they hear someone in front of them talking about what Cliff is going to do in the future. The man postpones the engagement, and even if the younger brother managed to get a wife, he still cannot mature enough to take a step. The girl tried to cheer up her husband, but it seems that now everything is in vain, because the people at the table are in the way. A voice louder than the rest shouts that Sinclair's illegitimate daughter will not be able to displace the woman who is married to the Duke. The aristocrat laughs, saying that the Duchess will not give the title to Lisa. She herself does not notice how Edith's figure appears behind her. Turning around, the blonde freezes, and almost shouts the name Riegelhoff. She didn't expect to meet her so soon. The red-haired girl rarely appears at balls, so she understands that high society could have had time to shake during this time, but she is still angry. The girl listened to what was being said, but she is no longer going to sit and silently endure everything that others are talking about. Lady Edith is incredibly angry. People shouldn't spread rumors about things that don't even concern them. The beauty sits back on her chair and frowns, but then the Duke begins to sincerely laugh at what is happening. He doesn't hold back. The more the hero looks at his wife, the more she amazes him with her originality and the way she behaves. According to the girl, there is no point in being angry with her husband, because it is other people who behave inappropriately. The hero himself gave permission for this, because the beauty does not love him. However, this is not entirely important, as it should be. On the contrary, the lady doesn't care because she loves Killian. She should calm down, because the character was created for Lise herself. With the same mood, the couple returned to the mansion, which was just as restless. The masters have already left, but the noise does not subside. Renan tells the lady from the doorway that the Duke and Duchess have taken out Lorraine's radiance. This thing is the most ancient jewel of the Duchy of Ludwig. Sinclair will go out wearing this necklace, thereby announcing himself as part of the family. The man does not share his wife's thoughts, so he grabs her hand and rushes forward down the corridor. Opening the door to the room where everyone has gathered, the brunette yells at his father for making such a decision, even without taking into account Killian's thoughts. Right from the doorway, the boy heard the news that while they were choosing outfits, his mother and father took out that very necklace. Obviously, the Duke wants Edith to wear the item. This would be logical, but it is still surprising. Lorraine Glow is traditionally worn by all brides immediately after the wedding when they go out into the world. Riegelhoff hasn't attended any events yet, so now is the time. She objects. The girl screams that the jewelry won't suit her, because the dress doesn't look quite right. The couple leaves. Lise immediately asks for forgiveness, but Jocelyn asks not to take everything to heart or put it in her head. The man didn't know that Killian could behave so provocatively. He was always silent. Obviously, the Duchess is getting old. If Sinclair were the first to appear in the world with the necklace, it would put Edith in an awkward position, but she didn't even think about her daughter-in-law when she was preparing the thing for the show. The girl doesn't understand why her husband suddenly got angry. The attitude towards parents should be respectful. I was angry by the fact that the family jewel would be worn by Lise, who is not even part of the family with the same last name. The hero is not going to put up with what is happening. He knows very well what is said in high society. After the founding day of the Empire, things will only get worse. The lady does not agree because she has already heard enough rumors and got used to them. This time they will talk about Edith differently. No one will call her a snake or laugh right behind her back. People will assume that the relationship is bad and that if the couple divorced, no one would be surprised because it is expected. The heroine doesn't care anyway. Smiling lightly, the husband understands that she can start a showdown even at a holiday. Killian leans closer as the beauty smiles back. She does not consider it necessary to think about others. Everyone said that the man's future wife would be terrible, but thanks to her, the guy's life became wonderful. Again that look and request that the lady close her eyes. The atmosphere for a kiss came again. In fact, Choi is worried that people at the bottom of the empire will talk some nonsense about her. Resentment and anger have no meaning when a husband is so kind to his woman and loves her. The couple lies down on the bed, but the guy tries to say that his health has not been restored. The answer is only denial. They continue what they started. Lise arrived for a walk with her friend. She notices a princess in the distance waving from her horse. This time, Catherine decided to have a picnic. This is how you can satisfy your hunger after riding lessons with Edith. Asking again in surprise, the blonde freezes. Recently, a friend of mine has been learning how to stay in the saddle. Riegelhoff certainly has no talent, but she studies very hard, so spending time with her is a pleasure. After lessons, they always have interesting conversations. The red-haired woman said that Sinclair had finally recovered. They were worried about her. Lise continues to remain silent. The blonde begins to furiously ask what's wrong, because she's even more worried. In fact, the incident with the scent threads still remained in my memory. The lady is worried that they haven't found the culprit. The lady said that she wanted to stop the investigation, but she still thinks about it for days. A maid appeared who knew something. She disappeared and then died. It seems that it was not worth turning a blind eye to the truth. The long-awaited day of the founding of the empire has arrived. The brunette once again asks if his wife will be happy with the pendant. The heroine put on the same thing that she wears every day. Jocelyn can give any decoration, but refusal was accepted. The first thing that the husband gave is always much more important, so the girl wants to wear a piece of him around her neck. Virgo is almost ready. The decoration suits her very well, but it is too small. Nobody knew that she was not so greedy. For owner Killian Ludwig, that's not too mean a compliment. The young man once again blushes with embarrassment. All the attention in the room, of course, was focused on Sinclair, who is not part of the family, but is already claiming the title of daughter-in-law. The whispers in the world of the novel sound even louder. The day itself promises to be spectacular. According to the great opinion, the Countess, who chose a dress from Edith, was the best dressed at the evening. The woman wore her chosen Sinclair robe every day, but only now decided to wear a dress of a different color. She was saving it for a special occasion. The girl thought that she had not fallen into her mother's style, but she would never have guessed that everything would turn out exactly like this. Accepting compliments, the beauty says that her daughter-in-law chose the dress. By asking the girl closer, the heroine wants to introduce people. It seems there was no such scene in the original. Walking forward, the girl says that she is glad to meet new friends. The couple heads to the ballroom floor to begin dancing. Killian asks in passing how his acquaintance with the society ladies went. The lady has already forgotten everyone who was introduced to her, which is not surprising. The main thing is not to forget the dance movements so as not to step on your feet. Names are difficult to remember, but Edith's body perfectly masters the dance moves she has been studying. The brunette apologizes for his rudeness very soon. His wife mastered the skill while dancing with other men. Standing to the side, Damien makes fun of his sister. Ludwig doesn't try to win Edith over, but instead flirts with her. The girl Lise also appeared with a jewel on her neck, which means that she is being matched with Cliff. Everything is really strange, because the woman with scarlet hair has become different. He shines brighter than anyone, even though he got into an arranged marriage. After the dance, the lady laughs because the man's ears are red. She seemed to be dancing too fast for him. The conversation is interrupted by Count Riegelhoff. He smiles as he greets the young couple and says that he missed them a lot. Looking sadly at the floor, the man says that he would like to talk to his daughter, at least for a few minutes. Perhaps due to Edith's deliberate awakening of memories, the lady cannot even raise her eyes. She doesn't know if the original restrictions are still in effect. Grabbing the girl's hand, the guy asks what needs to be discussed in private. He must hear about everything. The father-in-law is outraged. They are openly rude to him, although initially he just wanted to discuss a couple of issues with his beloved daughter. Instead of answering, the young man asks how things are going with the maid, who was sent as a gesture of goodwill. There are terrible rumors about the girl, so Sophia was sent to work on her behavior, and she, like a strict teacher, got to work. It seems Killian is siding with his wife, or he is suspicious of the private conversation and family plans. Deciding to behave naturally, the beauty smiles, saying that everything is fine with her. There is no reason to worry. They will see each other again. But when leaving, Riegelhoff curses the girl because he spent his whole life to raise her and received nothing in return. The Virgin is worried that she will not be able to tell anything again, but the guy himself begins to talk about the arrival of the Emperor. In order not to ask what the reason was, the man offers to go say hello to his old friend. His Majesty sits on the throne and conducts conversations with suitable aristocrats. A bored princess sits nearby. As soon as Ludwig's turn comes, the very scene that will shock everyone will begin. Friendship will be revealed there for the first time. In this scene, the higher family must recognize Lise because everyone saw Lorraine's shine on her and then learned about her relationship with Iberia. It is strange that the princess only looks at Edith. She is pleased that at the elaborate holiday there is an opportunity to meet dear people. Friend Sinclair and the Duke and Duchess are the most important. It seems that Riegelhoff is superfluous, but they also turn to her. The girl smiles because she noticed her and Killian's matching outfits. There is gossip in high society, but family members always have good relations. The lady separately invited 2 friends to spend time with her, but next time she will do it with them together. You can only blink in surprise, because people are whispering that Katrin invited 2 friends to her place. Liza's face freezes in defeat. She says she's fine, but is just nervous about greeting the Emperor. The more the red-haired girl thinks, the less she understands. This is exactly how the same scene has changed since the founding of the Empire. At this ball, the blonde should be the only one in the spotlight, but she had to share the attention with Edith herself. The voice from the side reminds me of someone familiar. This is the girl's father who grovels on Langston. It is difficult to maintain good relations in the imperial family, but the man was close to the king. The man openly sided with the Duke. He decided to make friends with him because apparently things were not going so well. Residents say that life was good under the previous emperor. They emphasize that the current government is worse. Not everyone dares to voice this out loud. Don't say bad things on a good day. The emperor does everything possible for prosperity, even if he is too young for the throne. The man feels sorry for the princess and the prince, because he remembers them as children, and there is always a place for them in his heart. Katrin runs out of the hall. The young man asks to follow him, because she is his old friend who deserves his attention. In the center of the hall, the ladies are discussing Regelhoff herself, who has to flirt in order to survive. Obviously, those gathered know the lady better in this situation. Now you don't need to guess what the conditions are in the third stage. Stepping forward, the beauty notes that, be that as it may, she is still Killian's wife. Even if the lady gets divorced, she will be able to live comfortably for the rest of her days in a mansion with money. Trying to contain her anger, Layla can no longer remain silent. It's just a leech that has attached itself to the Ludwigs. The blonde is no different from her. Before marriage, she sits on her father's neck, and after that, she sits on her husband's neck. The man came back at the most opportune moment. Leaning closer, the lady asks if she's really flirting with him. If a wife does this, she is only allowed to behave this way in front of her husband. Layla runs away. The longer the beauty plays the role of a villain, the more she begins to like it. The young man explains that he's been friends with Catherine since childhood, and nothing could happen between them. He just went to calm her down. There is no need to worry about a person's honesty and loyalty. His sister herself was convinced of this a long time ago. The lady was happy until she found out the conditions of the third stage. She already wanted to run away, but she would not have been able to do as planned.